Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and yeah, I have a full tummy tonight, and I ate too much for dinner, so I'm feeling a little blah right now, but I'm excited because Daryl Denton is here to talk about beard and hair products, because his beard and hair are always perfect. We might talk some Sasquatch, too, on the show. Little Timmy James is in studio as well, and we're going to have a fun time with all of you tonight. Let's get started, shall we? Kitty Caddywhack in the gold medal position. Eternity Eternal and with a silver. Race Fan with a bronze medal tonight. Remember the days when Race Fan used to get the gold medal every night? Oh, what's happened to you, Race Fan? Robert Lamoth and David Norenberg, thank you for coming on in tonight. Hi there, Cosmic Joe, Flat Six, and Mama Catherine. I love you, Mama Catherine. I hope you enjoy this show as much as I will tonight, and I hope you had a wonderful, wonderful day. I love her so much. Love Mama Catherine. Oh, she's just a sweetheart. I get to brag about her all the time. She warms my heart. Moving on down, we got Mel WD-40 here lubing us up for tonight's show, because literally, Daryl Denton says, I will not go Sasquatch hunting unless Mel lubes me up. That's it. That's what he says. I will not go Sasquatch hunting until Mel lubes me up. So, Mel, thanks for lubing up Daryl for tonight's show. We greatly appreciate it. Little Timmy James in the chat room. How are you? John Lamb, nice to have you back. Carol Amerio. Tracy Winters is here. Tracy Winters will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Scrolling on down, we have Operation Shutdown. Millennium, my man. Good to see you. And who is next on our list here? Noble Patrick. Nice to have you here, my friend. As we scroll on down, Dead Fish. Nice to see you. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship. Nice to have you here. Tyler 420, what's happening? Lisa Smith, thank you for joining us as we continue on with our roll call. Amanda, how are you tonight? Long Island Bigfoot, been a while. Good to have you here. And Al Garay over on Twitch. Once traded 150-pound dumbbells with Bigfoot. He wants to get into some trading tonight. Didn't even work out. Took a night off. I think it's after 4 months of working out heavy. Took a night off. All right, moving on down. Area 53, how are you? Christine Lynn is here. Christine Lynn will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. She only signs in silver Sharpie. That's it. You try and give her another Sharpie, black, blue, gold. She's like, no, not doing it. Silver or nothing. Scrolling on down, What in Tarnation, how are you? Walter and Marty Burback, good to have you here. Eli McGinnis, thanks for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call. There's Jay Truthseeker. If you wave to him, he always waves back. It's true. I'm Hardcore over on X. Thank you. Very excited to hear about Daryl's beard and hair product discussion. Yep, that's good. That's very nice. Phyllis Boucher Perry, how are you, sweetheart? Good to see you. The Watchman, thanks for coming on in. And Eva, nice to have you here. Area 53, thank you for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you very, very much for your love and support. Scrolling on down, let's see who else we have here. Beelzebub has a devil put aside for me, for me, for me. Yeah, you guys know the rest. All right, let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're talking Sasquatch and legends. Darrell Denton is here, the Tennessee Bigfoot hunter. We're going to get to him momentarily. But first, we are in roll call on our YouTube side right now as we say hello to, let's see, who are we saying hello to? My screen jumped here. Sweet Donna C. and Gary Roosin, nice to see you both. Fast Hemi, thanks for coming on in. And who is next on our list? Pat Fisher, nice to have you here. Woo-poo. Nicole frickin' Sackich, you rock star. How are you? You're awesome. You're number one. Yeah, you are. And, Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived. Same as Sweet Robbie G. Horns up.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Shush. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin in the woods, where together, my friends, we own the night. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing show of Bigfoot talk tonight. Darrell Denton is here to tell us about his encounters, his stories, and what it's like to trade objects with the legendary Sasquatch. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will be here with another crazy story to kick things off. Then little Timmy James will be in studio for the UFO report. Let's get right to it. This is one of my favorite people in the Bigfoot world. Darrell Denton is a seasoned Bigfoot and Dogman researcher, experiencer, and founder of the popular Facebook group Bigfoot Believers and Other Creatures. Growing up in Tennessee, Denton had early encounters with unexplained phenomena, including a harrowing face-to-face experience with a Bigfoot in Cannon County. His investigations have taken him across the American South. We're trying to get him to the Canadian North, hopefully later this fall, because I want to get him on film. I mean, he is incredible at what he does. You know what? If Darrell Denton comes out and does Flight 21 with us, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to sit back and shut up, and I'm going to learn from him. That's the way I'm going to do it. Sorry to cut into his intro there, but I just think that highly of the man. His investigations, once again, have taken him across the American South, where he has documented numerous sightings and encounters, such as a particularly eerie Dogman case in Caswell County, Virginia. You know what? Enough with the intro. I just got to get him in here. Darrell Denton, my good friend, it is great to have you back on Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
Hey, Dave, I'm good. It's an honor to be here with you, brother.
I'm excited too, man. I'm excited too. Did you ever think growing up as a kid that you would be labeled, you could put on your business card, Monster Hunter?
No, I didn't. You know, we're all raised to believe that these things don't exist. And I was raised quite the same way, besides the fact that my grandmother was a little different. She always led me to believe that a lot of things were possible. But I've definitely been on that quest since 1992, and it hadn't slowed down a whole lot.
What got you into this? Because you're a businessman, you're a former mayor of your town, you are somebody who has a lot of business experience, and usually business people are sticking to business. They're not outside in the forest trying to chase down Bigfoot.
Well, it just all started because of deer hunting. I was at my grandfather's farm. You know, my first encounter was November the 6th of 1992, and it was the opening day. We went there, me and three of my friends, every year to my grandfather's farm. And it was a good-sized farm, and we had all the adjoining farms around it, and large area to hunt, 3 or 4 mile area. And it was rural. Nobody was around much. Lots of wild animals and stuff that I was familiar with. But after that encounter in November the 6th of 92, when you see a creature come out of a cane thicket and jump a creek that's 10 or 12 foot wide in one leap, and then step right over and look right up into the tree at you and show you his teeth. And by that time, I was just trying to catch my breath to be able to breathe. I was so scared. So I've never been scared like that before, and haven't since. But it could have easily took me out if it wanted to, and I've learned a whole lot from these creatures since that time, and have a whole different opinion of most of them. They're like people. There's good ones and bad ones.
When you decided to start taking this very, very seriously, was there a specific event that happened that you said to yourself, I got to do this. I got to get out in the forest and check it out?
Yeah, definitely, Dave. No doubt, if I was fishing on my second encounter, I didn't go in the woods for about 7 years, from 92 to 99. I was, quite frankly, didn't want to go in the woods because after seeing what I call a monster that had the most evil growl and was able to scream and howl like it did at me in a tree, I was quite sure that I didn't want to hunt anymore or ever go back into the woods. But I was fishing on the local river, about 90 miles from where that happened, where I lived. My grandfather lived approximately 90 miles from me. And I was fishing a regular spot that I'd fished for years, but it was really, really remote. I was in Cheatham County, between Nashville and Cheatham County, Tennessee, on the Cumberland River. And I was in there by myself on a Sunday morning, and I worked a lot of hours at that time, and I was in there fishing and had my second encounter with these creatures, and didn't know what was going on for the first 2 or 3 weeks because something kept taking, my minnow bucket kept disappearing, and I couldn't fish, so I'd have to leave, and I couldn't find anybody there or couldn't figure out what was taking it. So finally, I did find out what was taking it when I tied a rope to it, and with the third bucket that I brought in there, and it was another one of these creatures. So I immediately thought, oh no, I don't want to fool with these things again, and I don't want to be around them. And I got all my gear, and when I seen the creature, and I left, and they just kind of ate at me all that week, thinking I can't let these things run me off. And it didn't seem to act like the first one I seen. It didn't look anything like the first one, which the first one, my grandfather at the time was 92 years old and extremely healthy and lived by himself in the mountains of Tennessee. He called the first one I seen a woodburger, and it was the meanest, ugliest looking thing I'd ever seen. This creature I'd just seen on the river while fishing looked nothing like that one. A whole different type creature, still of the same type, Bigfoot type family, but just different looking. Didn't look nearly as mean. It would seem less aggressive. And anyway, I spent a lot of years there with those creatures. I was either there every day or every other day after I finally got my mind clear that I was going to try to figure out what these things are and try to get to know them. And after my third occurrence of the minnow bucket issue, I met regularly. I seen 2 or 3 of these creatures, and I would go in and visit them. And try to communicate with them. The hardest thing is gaining the trust and them gaining my trust too, because I'm still a little frightened of them. I actually carried my shotgun, a single barrel 410 shotgun, for the first 3 or 4 times I was in there, and I laid it against a tree, and I was still not completely comfortable with them for sure. But this creature that was more friendly with me was a female. She was about 5.5 foot tall, and I'd stare at her and she'd stare at me. We just back and forth looking at each other, and she'd sway around the tree to look at me, and I'd look at her. Then I was sitting on a 5-gallon bucket there next to a tree, and just trying to take in the fact that what I was actually seeing, and it was a life-changing experience. If I haven't run into those on the river, there's no doubt I would have never got over my first encounter, which absolutely terrified me, scared me to death. I didn't feel that way with these creatures, and it pretty quickly took away that feeling of being frightened of them. With these creatures, they were so much different.
You bring up a good point, because earlier tonight when I was on WPHT 1210 AM with Walter M. Sterling, I do a nightly hit on his show in Philadelphia, and we were talking about Flight 21, and he was talking to me about the fear. He goes, Dave, you talk about this subject all the time. You go out there, you go putting yourself in this situation. How do you have fear for this creature? And I said, well, when you look at something that's 8 foot tall and maybe 400 or 500 pounds of solid muscle, I said, that's enough to put the fear of God in anybody, let alone the fact that it lives in the wild. It's a monster and shouldn't exist. Explain your fear for it. Is your fear that you're scared of what the reaction will be, or is it just a healthy respect that you don't fully know what it's all about?
Well, I never knew I had that kind of fear every day. I hunted in the woods all my life, and I'd run into bear, even cats, big cats that were in the area. I respected them, but I was cautious. It wasn't a fear, but this was like nothing I'd ever experienced. Like I said, I really don't scare very easy, and I don't now either. But nothing had ever quite scared me like that did. That was more than an actual fear. It was like just traumatized. I was in a tree looking at this thing growling at me and showing me its teeth, and it had the most evil eyes, and it literally just took the breath out of me. I couldn't even breathe. I was actually just frozen. I had one shot with a 50 caliber black powder rifle. And, I was the whole entire time I'm thinking, is this one shot going to take down this big creature? And if I do shoot this thing and it doesn't take it down, it's coming across this creek and it's coming up in this tree and it's going to pull me out. And that was the first thought in my mind, and it never left my mind. So I decided not to fire on it. Just literally just frozen. I actually, at that time, I had an old Timex watch they used to call Iron Man. Years ago, I wore those things, and the reason why I wore it because I hunted a lot and had an indigo light in it. When you push a little button, it would light up at night. You could actually use that thing to get into the woods to find your tree stand, and I also had a stopwatch on it. You push the button, and that morning I'd pushed that button, and when I'd seen that creature come out, I thought it was a deer coming out of this thing. And after I go back, and when I left there, I'd actually watched this thing for about somewhere around 13 minutes, which is incredible. It seemed like an hour because it didn't move for a while. It went over and tore the limb completely out of the tree where I had a drag rag hanging in it with deer scent on it from the day before, and threw that on the ground. And when it did that, it just got me more nervous, thinking this thing is really mad. It just rips a tree limb out of a tree, and it's going to come across here and get me. And that's all that your mind can have in it at that time is the fear of what it's going to do. It's not like a normal fear.
No, definitely not. I mean, to be outdoors and run into something that shouldn't exist. You've talked to a lot of people who've had that happen. What has been their reaction?
Well, I've talked to some people that's never gotten over it, and they won't go in the woods either. They don't hunt. They don't go in the woods for anything. Uh, they just don't go. They're too terrorized to take a chance to go back in there. One of these creatures possibly being there. And then I've talked to other people who still go in occasionally, but you're just never the same after that happens to you. Your whole thought train. First of all, we're raised to believe that there's no such things as monsters in the woods. I mean, I was anyway. My grandmother kind of told me there was things in the woods, but not like that. And my parents had told me, oh, it's just myth. There's no monsters in the woods, and I don't think anybody's ever quite prepared for that until it happens to them. And it is definitely life changing. You hear people say that, and that's not an understatement. It is life changing. And some people just never get over it.
Is it, if you were to explain the fear, is it just absolute terrifying encounters? Or is it that they are so shocked by what's happened that is what is creating the fact that they won't go in the forest?
A little bit of both. When you see a creature like that and you're and for example, I was in a tree stand probably around 25, 28 foot up. And this thing is looking directly at you. This thing knew where I was at because I heard something walking when I went in that morning. It was almost a 45-minute or more walk. It was close to a mile back in there over 3 huge hills. And I'd heard something walking twice, and I stopped and shined my light and didn't see it. And it did sound bipedal, which made me a little nervous, but thinking there was nobody else in here because my friends are all hunting in a different area. But, when you see something like that, it puts such a fear in you that you really don't know how to relate to that fear because I'd never had a fear like that. When you're completely frozen where you can't breathe. I mean, you're trying to just breathe. You're so just literally frozen. And you don't know what to do. You don't know where you should just just jump out of the tree stand and run, where you should fire on this thing, or just wait it out and hope he doesn't come over and grab you, pull you out of the tree, and drag you off in the woods with him. That was, there's really quite not anything like that I can imagine that can happen to someone.
Have you ever had stories or encounters where people have been attacked by this creature?
I don't know of anybody personally that's been attacked. I have heard of people that say they have been attacked or knocked down or run over or had large rocks or sticks thrown at them. But I don't know anybody personally that's been attacked by any of those creatures. So, and that's another thing. After that happened to me, and I had this second encounter on the river, which was roughly started about 7 years later by pure accident. I realized, if this thing wanted to kill me back in 92, it could have easily just crossed the creek and pulled me out of the tree, but it didn't do it. It was pretty much, I believe, like my grandfather told me when I finally made it back to the house. This creature, you were in this area. You probably upset its hunt that it was hunting the same deer you were. And I probably should have told you not to go that deep in there because I'd never heard of a woodbird. My grandfather had never mentioned any type of creature in the woods. And, he told me why, because he didn't want to take away my fun in the woods or camping or whatever. And that's understandable. But, I don't, lots of people I really do believe suffer from PTSD symptoms from things like this that happen to them with Bigfoot. I know people that do suffer from that type of exposure, or they're just scared to death to go into the woods anymore and they won't go. But you can't let it do you that way. I was very lucky, like I said, with my second encounter, because these creatures were different. And, I learned these creatures and spent a little over 4 years with these creatures and learned to be my friends. They became my friends.
Well, talk about that, Daryl, as we got just under 5 minutes to go before we go to break.
Sure.
Daryl Denton is our guest tonight. You call them friends.
Yeah, I felt like they were my friends. It took me, a good year and a half, 2 years to really earn their trust. I would, like I said, I would go in nearly every day. Sometimes I'd skip a day. I'd be there the next day. I didn't always have 2 or 3 hours to spend with them, but sometimes I'd spend longer than that, and sometimes a lot less. And I would go in and wait on them. And they knew when I came in. Where I parked at was behind an old, I think it's a water filtration plant or a sewer filtration plant. It's very, very remote and rural, and I'd pull in behind it into a gate, a fenced-in area in the back, and I'd park next to a gate, and you couldn't go in there if you didn't know somebody. And I happened to know a good friend of mine whose uncle or cousin worked there, and he had gave me permission anytime to pull back there and park and go through the gate. But when I would go through that gate, it's about a 200-yard walk through the woods on a game trail. And some of it's thick and some of it's not. When you got to the area where they were at, it's real thick. But I would start yelling when I went in after I got to know them. I'd say, "Hey, I'm here to see you today." I was just speaking loudly as I was walking in the woods. And I would hear them all over. You'd hear a whoop over here, and you'd hear another one make a whoop over here. And they were all around in that area back there. They were in a large area of what we call kudzu. It's real thick, vine-looking stuff with big leaves, and it grows so thick it's hard to even get through. But there was a huge area of that, and that's where the area they were living in. And it was very difficult to even crawl through it if you wanted to. And that's where I found my missing minnow buckets, and where the game trail went through that, and where I first seen the first creature. But they just became friendly with me. The female at first was the one who really became friendly with me. That was the first one I seen. She would hold onto a tree, and she would lean over and look at me while I was sitting on my bucket watching her. And then she'd go back, and then she'd lean over and look at me again. Then she'd go back. And then there was another one behind her that became pretty regular. He was about the same size of her. And then there was one that would come in and out. I'd see him pretty regular. He was a large male. He wasn't fully grown. He was probably about 7 foot tall. And he was behind them. All three of these were kind of behind each other, with the larger one being behind the first two. And they were just different than the first one. I felt comfortable with them after a while. I trusted them. I didn't worry about bringing a gun. I tried to communicate with them. I'd tell them my name every time I go in. I would speak some of the language I know, American Indian language that I know, and ask them questions. They just looked at me. And I started bringing them different type foods, and I found out I've never even heard of gifting at that time, and I've learned a lot about what not to do, what to do with gifting now. I wouldn't suggest everybody do that right off, but I found out their favorite food was cantaloupe. Their second favorite food was, who doesn't like cooked bacon, but they love cooked bacon, and then their other food they enjoyed was any type of bread product, mainly jelly-filled donuts. And they don't want it on the ground. They want it in a plate just like we do. And you push it over next to the kudzu edge where they can reach out and grab it. They don't want it on the ground. So they're very intelligent. They're elusive, and they seem to have a way to know what type person you are, whether you're trustworthy or not. And they can look at you in a way where you can feel that. It's very hard to understand what I'm saying, but they have a way of looking at you to let you know they trust you.
We got about 30 seconds to go here before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Trust is a big thing. How long does it take to make that trust happen?
I think it may be different with everybody, and I know these particular creatures, the female, the one that I met first, she and I earned trust before I did with the other two. And it was real close to 2 years before she felt comfortable with me, that I felt comfortable with her. And, funny, I had a question in the group. Somebody had
hold that thought. We'll get to that.
Right,
the trust of Bigfoot gifting sites, and much more with Darrell Denton, the Texas Bigfoot hunter. We love him around here. Tennessee.
That's all right. We go to Texas too, Dave.
We'll go everywhere. We need you in British Columbia. We'll be right back, everybody. All right, we are clear. Fun start. Very fun start.
Dave, it's awesome. Thanks for having me on, brother. Always glad to be with you.
No problem. No problem. Little Timmy James is sitting in the background here taking notes.
Little Timmy James, you got him back there taking notes, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's
We're
always
giving him
doing some good work.
We're always having to give him. I feel sorry for him because the past, I'm going to say almost a year now, we've really given him a hard crash course on all of this stuff, and he's done great with the opportunity and everything. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, great job there, Timmy.
Thank you. Hey, can't see you waving. Tim likes a good wave. I'll wave to him for you, Daryl. Yeah. It's pretty awesome, to be blunt.
I'm
Pretty
looking forward to getting up to British Columbia.
Oh, yeah, man.
All this stuff you have to go through now with these driver's license with stars, and I don't know if I have to have a passport to get there or not. I may have to.
If you're driving, all you need is a driver's license. If you're,
I would love to drive, but I know Rosie would.
Yeah, you're gonna end up flying to Vancouver, so and then getting a vehicle down there and driving it up. But yeah, man, it's gonna be a fun time. Gonna be a very fun time.
Well, we're hope we can do that. I think we can. We're looking forward to it. It's always a pleasure to be with you. Looking forward to meeting your family.
Yeah, man. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. And unfortunately, the mosquitoes have just decided to swarm. So we're now officially, I think as of a day and a half ago, we're officially in mosquito season until August.
I was talking to a gentleman today that we run into, Rosie and I did, him and his wife, and they had just got back from Alaska, and he said he'd never seen mosquitoes that big.
Oh, they're horrible. They literally hold picket signs outside your door saying, "Come out here." Yeah, if you hear things knock in the middle of the night, it's not a ghost, it's not a burglar, it's a mosquito.
They are huge. He said they were massive.
Yeah. Little Timmy James, question for you from Amanda. When is the new video coming out? Hopefully before this weekend. Hopefully before this weekend. Yeah. We'll talk in hour 3 about it. Yeah, we put out I don't know if you've seen it yet or not, Daryl, but on our YouTube channel, we put out episode 1 of Cause and Effect for the crash site. So we went back there.
Oh, man, I better check that out.
Yeah. We were there for, what is it, about an hour 12, the video? The video is, yeah. About an hour 12. And it just kind of, we kind of take everything in stride with what we're going through and why we're doing it and all this kind of stuff, where we've had encounters prior to that.
Wow, how many people perished on that aircraft?
52.
Oh my goodness, that's a large amount of
Yeah.
people. Did anybody survive?
Nobody.
And what year was this?
1965. So on Tuesday, July 8th, it'll be 60 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. 2 years before Patty.
Yep.
Had an interesting story told to me today that just this evening that I still am trying to put together in my mind. That Scott Patterson, who I was a good friend with, had passed away last 2 years ago now. He had done an interview and told about somebody that he knew very close. And Scott never mentioned this to me. I was kind of surprised, but how many Bigfoot were killed at the Patterson Denton site.
I've heard rumors of that. MK Davis has kind of gone off on that tangent too.
Right.
Hold on right there, Daryl. Thank you to Deborah Rooney, Kira, and Area 53 for the great super chats. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And here we go with the second half hour, everybody. Here we go, the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Bigfoot Talk with Daryl Denton. My name is Dave Scott. We're having a lot of fun bringing the Monster Talk to you tonight. Hey, we want to remind every one of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on every major podcast network and on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Daryl Denton is here. We're having a great time with him. We're going to find out what it's like to leave gifts for Sasquatch and literally start a little trading club with them. Is it possible? Well, apparently it is. Daryl, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Dave, I can't tell you I appreciate it. It's always an honor being on with you, brother, and I mean that.
Well, I appreciate the kind gesture. That's for sure. I love having you on. I do. It's
I enjoy doing it. I really do.
It's all filled with knowledge and great stories, and that's what we love to tell here on the show nightly. So I want to ask you about gifting, because a lot of people think, really, you can trade objects with Sasquatch? What do you trade? Do you bring in toys? Do you bring in macrame? Do you bring in fishing lures? What do you bring in? I mean, maybe take us through how you learned about gifting.
Well, really, I didn't really know anything about gifting. How it came up, I'll tell you exactly how it came up with me. I went in one morning to visit my friends on the river, and I'd actually brought with me a couple of sandwiches. Just because I was planning on spending the day there, and I was going to eat my lunch and visit with my friends there on the river. And I got to eating my lunch, and I had the female looking out at me and watching me, and I kind of felt a little guilty. So I tore off a little piece of it, and I threw it over on the ground next to her. And I'm thinking, well, these creatures are way too smart to just pick up something off of the dirty ground. And of course, she wouldn't eat it. And I had a little pack-like thing that opened up, and I laid a piece on that, and I slid it over, and she reached down and took a piece of part of the sandwich I had and picked it up and looked at it and was a little nervous to try it and laid it back down, and she didn't eat it. So I thought, well, the next time I come in here, maybe I'll bring them something to see what they like to eat. Maybe she doesn't like what I've got. But it took a lot of practice and time, really, with that to learn what they did like. And I found out through a lot of chance and unchance of what was good for them and what they enjoyed to eat and what they did like. So a lot of time went through with that type of stuff. And a lot of different things I brought in there and things they wouldn't eat. But they do like gifts of all kind. But I would suggest now, I've learned a whole lot since then. I wouldn't just start gifting any of these creatures. And if you're going to, be real sparingly on it. Don't do it on a regular basis where you're doing it every day or every other day. Maybe once or twice a month, because they become kind of reliant on it. And then if you don't bring them something, they don't think that you like them, and you may upset them a little bit. So
in our area, we can't bring food. There's too many wild animals in that area that would take it as something for them rather than for the Sasquatch. What do you like to bring?
I found out about that, Dave. I actually made a little wooden box, small wooden box with just a little edge around it. And the tree I sat on I set against with I had a 5-gallon bucket against that tree. The same thing I was doing when I was fishing when this happened to me. And I put a little box up between a fork and that tree. It wasn't very high off the ground, maybe 5 foot. And I nailed it in there where it wouldn't come out, and I put the gifts in there. I found out what you put in there for these creatures, the other animals they don't bother. And I don't know if they know, hey, this belongs to them, leave their stuff alone. I do think that's what they know. They don't bother of course, I don't call this particular, people call these creatures whatever they want to call them, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, the hairy man. I call them Chayutanka, which means great elder of the forest, watcher of the forest, and that's in Lakota Sioux. And I believe that's what they are. I know they're an ancient human. They're a hybrid human, is what I believe they are. These creatures have a way with the forest, and the other creatures know what they are, and they won't bother their food.
I don't want to take the chance with grizzly bears around.
Well, I understand if grizzly bears, I don't think I'd want to take the chance to be up there if there's one of those things around, because I'm probably a little more frightened of them than I am a Bigfoot or a Dogman. But, I just found out by my own experience that I didn't have anything that large in the woods where I was gifting these creatures at. But there was plenty of other critters like raccoons and even occasional coyote or whatever would come through there that could take the food if it wanted to, including squirrels that climbed the trees, but nothing ever bothered their food. I don't know if that was because they knew that food belonged to them or they just didn't. Very strange why they didn't. But I've learned to think that they're very respectful to the Bigfoot, the other creatures are.
What do you prefer to gift?
Well, it depends on what I'm wanting to do. Like I said, I've learned a lot since that day and time. This went on for nearly 5 years, from 99 to late 2004. If I was going out in an area now and trying to, I had another family that we did gift, Billy Howell and I, in Cheatham, Tennessee, and they were completely different than these creatures. These creatures vary so much. It's very hard to understand or explain what I'm trying to say. I believe I've run into at least 3 or 4 different types of these creatures. The first one being the wood booger. The second one on the river being more like the Patterson Gimlin type. They look more like that. Mm-hmm. And the number 3 and 4, I call them, and I come up with that number because there is a book that has 10 different Bigfoot in it, and I don't know how accurate that is. I just go by what I've seen. I'm no expert at anything. I'm going to talk about my own experiences, but in that book, the number 2 was called the wood booger, and that's why I call that first one I've seen the number 2. And the number 3 and 4 are very similar, look more like the Patterson Gimlin type, and that's what I've seen on the river. The other one that I seen that looked real similar to the number 3 and 4, but it was more bulky. It was had a lot larger legs, a lot larger body, a lot larger arms. I've never seen one over roughly 8 foot tall, maybe a little more than that, but not a lot more than that. Going back to gifting, if I was going to gift and go out into an area and start doing that, I wouldn't start out with food of any type. It'd be probably maybe some type of rock, a pretty rock of some kind in an area that you designated your gifting area. I always looked at maybe a stump in the woods or someplace that's kind of cleaned out a little bit where they'll know what you're leaving them. I like to start out if I'm doing that. I like to do most of my research at nighttime. I would probably put glow sticks out, which are these little sticks you can buy at different thrift stores or whatever your area is that has them. You crack them and they light up and they glow for 5 or 6 hours before they go out. You can get, 4 or 5 in a pack. I'll start out with those in an area anywhere if I wanted to gift because they're easy to see. And these creatures are very elusive and very curious. They want to see what they are. And when you're away from those or off in the area watching, sometimes you'll just see one disappear. You don't know where it went, but because one of these reached in and grabbed it and took it. They're going to go to those things because they're so curious. Their curiosity did not keep them from taking one of those. And I've put out a lot of glow sticks over the years in different areas, and they always work. Unless you're in an area that has two families in it, two clans, and a lot of times there'll be a real hard time there with border. One clan thinks that's their area, another clan thinks that's their area, and that's pretty rare. You don't run into that often, but I have once. But and if that happens, they won't bother. Neither one of the clans will bother them. They'll just leave them alone. But that would be my first item I would put out if you're going to research at night. If you're going to go in the daytime, I would probably put out, like I said, a real pretty rock of some kind, maybe a golf ball, maybe a roll of twine, string, a burlap color, something like that. That's what I'd start off with. Something that's real easy for them to understand that you're just trying to leave them a gift.
What about whistles? You've had some incredible encounters with whistles.
That's probably the best thing the most incredible part of anything I've ever gifted. And that was the same ones that I had on the Cumberland River in Tennessee that I was with for nearly 5 years. I was so friendly with those creatures. I even camped out in there in my sleeping bag 30 feet from these creatures while they were in their bedding area in the kudzu. And they would just look over at night and look at me, look over the kudzu and peek at me. And I had a little fire going, and I camped there with them several times, near them, not with them, but near them. The whistles, I completely felt comfortable with them. They had a trust in me, especially the female and the younger male that was about the same size of her. They both kind of took to me, and they knew that I had a good heart and I was there for a good reason. I just wanted to friend them and understand and learn from them as the same they wanted for me. But I went in there and I took a little bag of plastic whistles like you buy for a birthday party. It seemed like there was 8 or 10 in there, and it had a little black string that was tied around the hole in the top of the whistle. And I hung those whistles all over the tree limbs right around the kudzu area. And when I was leaving, I would say, okay, I'm leaving. I'll see you guys tomorrow or no later than the next day. And bye. When I would say bye, I'd start walking off and I would hear bye, bye, bye. There'd be 3 or 4 different byes from different areas, including the female that would raise her hand and go bye. They were mocking me saying bye. So, that went on out, and they always did that when I left. Not always, but after I got to know them, they did. And when I came in, I'd say, hey, I'm here. And they would start hooping and hollering and whatever. Don't let me know they were there. And so I came in the next day. Those whistles had been left there that evening. And I came in the trail and opened the gate. And I started walking down the game trail. I was probably 7,500 yards in from nearly 200 roughly that it took me to get to their spot. And I started hearing whistles blowing everywhere. There was one straight ahead to me, one to the left, one across the river. I mean, it was like just whistles blowing like crazy. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was just amazing. I get to my spot and I sat down. They quit blowing them after I got there and sat down. And I said, wow, what a great reception I got. I said, everybody blowing whistles. It was just amazing how these creatures, and then I knew how intelligent they were. So I already knew they were intelligent, but it's not like if you give any type of animal a whistle, they're going to figure out how to blow it. These things blew it in rhythm and all at the same time, and it's pretty impressive.
That is pretty impressive. I mean, how did you know it was them and not, say, a bunch of people walking in the area who had taken your whistles?
Well, I didn't until I seen one of the whistles with one of them, and I thought, well, after a while, every time I'd come in, they'd blow the whistles. I mean, when I go through that gate, I start talking loudly. Hey, I'm on my way to see you. I let them know it's me, not some stranger coming through the gate that they don't know and to be frightened of. I would let them know it was me. And they usually always got a watcher or a peeker anyway, or looking around a tree or up, doing a belly crawl around a stump, or they're taking a look. They know when somebody gets out of the vehicle, they're coming into their area. They want to see if it's danger or not danger. And they use a lot of other animals to help them too. Crows are one of their best weapons. I mean, they'll start going really loud, the crows will, when certain people walk into an area, including areas I walked in. They start getting real loud, and I have no doubt that they're alerting the Bigfoot. And these creatures just knew it was me, and they would start blowing them. I mean, I'm sure I didn't sit and watch one blow the whistle, but I'd say that it was pretty easy to think that all these whistles blowing every day or every other day that I went in, especially one across the river, wouldn't have been a person.
At our spot on the weekend, one of the things we pointed out in video number 1 on our YouTube site was how silent the area was. And then all of a sudden, it was lit up with birds. First time I've heard that happen, where the birds were going absolutely crazy. The chipmunks were going absolutely crazy. Out of your expertise, what do you think was happening there to change the environment? Because we had just had a rainstorm in that area about an hour previous.
Well, normally I've never experienced quite that before, but I've experienced similar. I would probably guess to say that these creatures were doing just like I had mentioned the crows do. And squirrels do it too. They'll start cutting up. When they hear somebody coming in, and they kind of let these creatures know that you're in there. And I would say that you were experiencing the same thing that I'm talking about. They're letting I call the ones I had on the river the forest people, because they were so much different than my first experience. I call that a Bigfoot. I call these forest people because these were so much more. They were so friendly and so reserved. They were never aggressive toward me, and they were very kind and open toward me. So I call them the forest people. And it took me a lot of time in there, and I don't know how long I took to try to get communication with them to say anything to me. And I learned they have their own language. They do have their own language that they understand that I don't understand with each other. I know what some of their words mean because I've learned by using words. And I asked them, one of the biggest questions I ever asked them, I said, don't how many times, please tell me your name. My name is Daryl. Tell me yours. And they would just look at me and give me some type of gesture occasionally, or leave me a little stick pile right there where I sat with an X. Their marker for this family was X's. They would have huge trees, fresh trees, broken at the bottom, probably 6 inches around, and they formed an X. And then they would have deadfalls, even on the trail. They would make me little X's. The coolest thing they ever made me was a cardboard half-gallon milk carton that had probably been in the river for a long time, or on the river bank, because at one time it was a red and white carton. Well, by the time I got it, it was pink and white. It faded. And they had put sticks through all 4 sides of it. And when the sticks come out, they formed the X on every side. And that's their marker. They left that for me at the gift at where my seat was, my 5-gallon bucket that I left there, that I set on the bottom. Turned it upside down and set on the bottom of it. And that gift I still have. It was an amazing gift, and that was pretty cool. That was one of the first gifts that I really got that meant so much to me, besides a little pile of sticks or a rock formation. But they brought me fish plenty of times, real live dead fish, or they were live when they brought them. They were dead when I got there. But they would bring me things to try to gift me back for things I'd done for them to show their friendship. And, taking them food, I got where I didn't take them food as much. I learned what they did like, and I would try to take them something to eat at least once a week. And like I said, cantaloupe, bacon, and bread products is their favorite. The whole loaf of bread, you can take them with a tie on it. Don't open it. They will take all the bread, eat it, bring the wrapper back with a tie on it, want you to refill it. They're a clean type of person. They want their food on a plate just like we do. They don't want it thrown on the ground. And the craziest thing that happened to me there too, besides the whistle and some other things that really fascinated me, I brought them in some jelly-filled donuts one morning, and I walked in, I sat down, and I was talking to the female and her little brother behind her, and the bigger juvenile was behind her that morning. He was watching me, and he would watch me real carefully. He would smile at me occasionally, but I put a jelly-filled donut over on a plate, and I pushed it over as far as I could, and I got it to push it a little closer to where they were sitting and where she was sitting. And I said, please tell me your name, man. My name is Daryl. Tell me your name. And I hear, Aleatha. No, I had a heart attack. I looked up real quick and I said, did you say that? And she went, I said, your name is Aleatha. And I said, what is your name? The one behind her. And he didn't say anything. And I pushed the donut over toward his area, and he come down and got it, and he never said anything. And the bigger one, behind him, had him on a plate there, and he didn't come and get his. He was sitting back there, and I said, can you tell me your name? And he didn't say anything. And I was reaching down to get the box and pull over next to me, and all of a sudden I hear, Tobias. I said, did you do that? Your name is Tobias? And he went, so the whole time I was there, I got 2 words out of these creatures besides bye, which they're very good at mocking you. If you say words, they can say them back. But I found out the female's name was Aleatha, and the bigger one was Tobias, and I never found out what the other one's name was. I called him Junior. That was just what I called him. He never told me. But that was the only 2. I realized these creatures are so smart and intelligent. They've been playing me for 2.5, 3 years, and they understand English. They understood, and they can probably speak all the English language. But I still had not gained enough trust from them after that long a period of time for them to speak to me. But they did tell me those 2 words, and that was the only words I got out of them, except bye and hi. I got hi and bye quite often, but it was amazing. I still have a hard time believing that these creatures told me their name. And then I went to the fact I was on a roll here, and I said, can you tell me where you're from? Nothing. I said, do you know who Jesus Christ is? And they kind of lit up. I mean, you could tell the difference in their facial expressions, all 3 of them. And do you know who Jesus Christ is? They just looked at me like, yep, we know who he is. And I said, where did you come from? Did you come from heaven? They didn't say anything. I said, did you come from another galaxy? I pointed up, and they went. So I truly believe these creatures came from another galaxy. I don't know when or how long ago. I think long ago. And I go back to Dr. Melba Kitchen, who I think the world of, who did the Genome Project about 10 years ago now, well, 13 years ago when she started it. And, the DNA that she had, along with my close late friend Scott Carpenter, said they were 58% human female, the other part 42% unknown creature. Nothing in the DNA ever matched the other 42%. And they had blood, they had hair, and they had saliva in that DNA study. So
hold that thought, Daryl. When we get back with Daryl Denton, we're going to get into some of his scariest encounters with Sasquatch and Dogman next on Spaced Out Radio. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. Daryl, we got about a 6-minute break here, so we're going to turn things over to the dirty one and see what he has for for everybody, okay?
Let's do it. That's great.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Daryl. Hope everyone's having a good night so far.
Hey, yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you.
This is one of the space frogs or alien cats from space, and he's going to the local pub, and the 32 Squared, the bartender, tells him he can't bring outside snacks into the pub, so it's kind of ruined his day.
Very cool.
The cats are surprisingly only out of control a little bit today. It seems like every once in a while they just go absolutely crazy on me. Yeah, I basically created the characters based off my cats.
Okay, that works. Pretty cool. Very good artwork.
Thank you. You want to see a picture of a Sasquatch eating a Saskatoon berry pie?
Eating a what?
See a picture of a Sasquatch eating a Saskatoon berry pie?
Yeah, let's see that.
There he is. He stole the pie from Grandma's windowsill.
I'll put my glasses on and check that one out pretty good. That's
Here, let me get a little bit closer there.
Oh yeah, he's I got it now. He's got the whole pie in his mouth. I got you. Yeah. That looks good. Very good artwork.
Thanks. It's a little bit of watercolor and some ink. Nothing too
Very
fancy,
good.
but
Yeah.
I just love doing it. As long as I can get a chuckle out of somebody, that's the best.
Yeah, you got to do me a favor. Do one of Dave and I together and mail it to me, and I'll send you a check.
I can do that. Let me get my scribble pad here.
Yeah, get one of Dave and I together, and that'd be pretty awesome to have. Let Dave sign it for me. You sign it for me. I'll be honored to have that thing.
Sure. I've shipped out a bunch of drawings to lots of people. Yes, I got that right there. Dave and Daryl's Adventure.
I like that.
I'm going to. Oh, if anybody's listening, if you want to watch some more cartoons, every Saturday, 2 p.m. Pacific time, I will be drawing cartoons for about an hour. It'll just be me and no other guests. Just me rambling and fighting with my cats. So if you're interested, you can come watch that. And if you live in the Edmonton area, July 11th to 13th, come down to the White Avenue Art Walk and check out what we got there. I'll have some plushies of some characters. Probably a Bigfoot, maybe a Dogman, a couple aliens more than likely. You know, I was going to ask the lady that I do them with, Fox Vegas, if I could order Sasquatch for the show today, but I totally forgot about it. I was just all excited to eat my chicken wings the other day. But I do have a Dogman handy.
Well, that's a ferocious one right there now.
Yeah, take your arms right off.
I'll take your arms right off. Yeah. Cool.
He's a prototype version.
That looks good.
Little project we've been working on.
How long have you been doing your cartoon work?
Well, I've been drawing cartoons pretty much my whole life, but I've been drawing on the show with Dave since I think 2022. And then a couple weeks ago, he goes, "Well," I was like, "Hey, Dave, why don't I just draw cartoons on the weekend? I'm doing them anyway." And he goes, "Well, you might as well. We'll give something people to watch and enjoy." So I've done 2 shows, and I had a little stumble with them. The first one, I forgot to actually click live to go live for about 10 minutes. And all my friends are texting me, "Where are you? Where are you, Filthy?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, hey guys, I can hear you. It's all good." And yeah. And then the show on last Saturday, right as I was about to do my little intro thing, the cats decided to have like World War III under the table on my feet. Because that's what they like doing. Yeah, it was I think I'm just gonna apply them with snacks next time.
There you go.
Speaking of snacks, it's almost snacks time for the cartoons, for the cats. I always give them a couple snacks after the show.
How
They
many
deserve it.
cats do you have?
I have 3.
Okay.
Two boys and my old grumpy Whiskey, the barn cat. She's a long-haired barn cat, and I had a 4th cat, my Blob. She used to be my supervisor, and she'd sit on the show all the time. But she went to the supervisor lounge earlier this year, so I don't have enough space for a dog. Otherwise, I'd have a bunch of dogs too. But that'd just be really causing a ruckus then. Jeez,
That's
Jay
cool.
Truth Seeker.
All right, Dirty, we're coming back in like 30 seconds.
Okay, everybody, have a good night.
Hey, take
Hey,
care,
Dirty,
man.
you're the best. Thank you for a great show on Saturday. We'll do it again this Saturday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. Dirty Phil's show on Spaced
You
Out
got it.
Radio, and you can get his cartoons as well there. Thank you tonight to Debaruni, Kira, and Area 53 for the super chats. Greatly appreciated. Hi, Vanessa. How are you? Don Morris, welcome to SOR Chat. And here we go. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Talking Bigfoot tonight with Daryl Denton. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for joining us. We greatly appreciate earning your listening ears. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Timoneer. Timoneer is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. The Tennessee Bigfoot hunter, Darrell Denton, is with us tonight. Not only is he looking out for Bigfoot, but he's also had some incredible Dogman encounters. And we're going to bring Darrell back in here to talk about these harrowing stories of real strange encounters. Darrell, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thanks for letting me be on here with you, Dave. I appreciate it.
What's scarier, Dogman or Bigfoot?
I don't think anything will ever top my first encounter. I mean, that was nothing's ever been like that. You know, the first Dogman encounter I had was not really an encounter, just a sighting, and I staked out for quite a while, nearly over a month before I seen that creature, and it was ran down through a field and stood up across the fence, and that was in Tazewell County, Virginia. Probably the biggest one that I've seen was the one Martin Groves and I seen in October of 2023. October of 23 on the land between the lakes of Tennessee and Kentucky. That one was pretty powerful. Probably about next in line, definitely, to my first encounter, as far as not knowing what was going to happen to us. You know, it was pretty frightening. But nothing like my first encounter. I don't think anything will ever outdo that.
What happened there? Tell us about it.
Well, Martin Groves is one of my research partners. You know, my team, we go to LBA, Land Between the Lakes, is where we mainly research at. I'm going to start doing quite a bit of research up in the New Jersey area. I've got an area up there I'm working on now where we're looking into the Jersey Devil area. But anyway, that particular night was, like I said, in October. I believe it was October the 17th. Can't remember the exact date. That could be wrong, but it was in 23. Martin Groves, been my best friend 44 years. He was a close friend for so many years, and he was chief deputy in my county. And I was the town mayor up there for a long time. We were very close and had known each other for a long time. He and I researched together along with Ron Moorhead and his other teammate, and Barton Nunley being our other teammate. And we researched the land between the lakes regularly. We haven't done it as much this year as we have in the past, but had some illness going on. I'd ask everybody to please keep Martin Groves in your prayers. Certainly appreciate if you would. He's having some tests done, and he's pretty sick right at the moment with a bout of pneumonia. So please keep Martin Groves in your prayers. I would appreciate that. But Martin and I went in there, and it was, I think it was the 29th anniversary of his encounter, which Martin is well known for, where two Dogman type creatures, maybe three, and two Bigfoot attacked him. Well, the Dogman attacked him, the Bigfoot were in front of him, blocking the entrance and getting out of the area. But in the land between the lakes, he and a friend, Harry, were turkey hunting there in 1993, just a few months after my sighting. And of course, neither one of us could talk about anything like that. People think we were crazy. I'm an elected official, and him being a sheriff's chief deputy. So we would go to lunch back then and talk about this because we had anybody else to talk about. Back in that day, there were no podcasts, no radio shows like Dave has here, or no groups to talk to people. It was different. You really couldn't say much of nothing. You just had to kind of keep it quiet. But Martin and I had went in that. We'd been there 3 days at that time. We went to a certain spot, and just he and I at this particular time. And we were going back to the area that night where he had his first encounter, where two Dogman creatures almost killed him and his friend. And we were, if you know the land between the lakes, you may not, but it's 170,000 acres of rural land with campgrounds thrown across it in certain areas and boat ramps. And a lot of the camping areas there have been closed due to what the National Forestry Service says. It used to be National Park, but now it's run by the National Forestry Service. Being closed over different reasons, and of course, I don't know what reasons they are, but I personally believe there's other reasons they're closed. But anyway, the area we were going to is an area off Russian Creek that runs off the Trace. The Trace is the road that runs from the south end through the north end through the park. It's a long highway, and then it turns off to different areas of the park you can go into. And these roads go back in there for miles and miles, and then you'll get to the pavement runs out, and then you'll turn on gravel roads to the left and the right, and then go into dirt roads. So there's areas back there that you could easily get lost in if you don't know where you're at. And Martin probably knows that those roads as well as anybody I know. And he and I have been going up there for the biggest portion of our life. You know, before we ever even knew about this type of stuff, we were fishing and hunting in that area. But we had been right. It was after midnight, this particular night, that we had went back toward the area where Martin had his first encounter. And you have to turn off on a gravel road. You go down a good ways, then you turn off on a dirt road. And then it just becomes a field, and you have to park, cross a creek, a dry bed creek, and walk a good 300 or 400 yards up to the area where the attack took place. And in that time when it took place, when it happened to him, there was a large cornfield there. The National Park Service used to grow corn there for the deer and all the animals that lived in the park. And we had been riding back there in that area, headed to that spot. We were going to go there as close as we could at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, because that's when we've had most of our sightings and things go on up there. When you go to the land between the lakes, if you've never been there, it's a whole different place when the lights go out. In the daytime, it's a friendly place. You'll see people and boaters and people having a good time. When nighttime comes, you're in a different place. It's a whole, it even gives you a strange feeling when you're there, when nothing's going on. But we went back in there in this area and we stopped about maybe half a mile before we got to it. And it was dark and we hadn't eaten, so we stopped on the gravel road, lowered Martin's tailgate, settled back the tailgate, had a little snack, sat there and talked in the dark and what we were going to do, where we were going to go, and finished up, shut the tailgate. I got in the truck. Martin started to drive, and I mean, we're doing 1 or 2 miles an hour, just enough to make the truck run in gear. And we turn on this gravel road way back on the northern end toward a place called Russian Creek, close to an area that's well known called the Devil's Backbone. And we're just barely moving, and we turn and we're straightening up, and I've got my window down on the pasture side. It's warm outside, not in the 60s. It's October. A very nice night, and barely moving, and I look off to the right. And 5 to 7 feet from me, there's a ravine that goes deep down, and it's a creek bed, and it has a culvert coming up to the top of the road. And there's weeds all through there, tall weeds. I look to the right, and there's this huge blue mist, just like a big blur of misty looking blue. And it looked like smoke almost blue right next to that. And I stopped and looked at it, and I thought, what is that out here in the middle of the dark? And then all of a sudden, it turned silver, and there was a creature laying there in the grass, looking straight at me. And we're barely going. I mean, it's staring right at me. It's laying in the grass. I can't see its feet, but the grass and weeds are tall right there. But it's looking right at me. It's got a huge head, about half the size of the truck windshield. And it has mane around its neck like a line. And it's got 2 deep eyes like clear flashlights. They're very deep and they're clear. And it's just looking at me with kind of like a grin on its face. And all the hair on this thing's body, the very tips of it were almost like lit up. I know it sounds crazy, but it's been, I looked at Martin and he looked at me and he said, I see it. And I had my arm out the window. I'm thinking this thing, it looks like it's going to pounce. It's in like a cat position, like it's going to jump. I'm thinking it's going to jump in on the window and try to get me. I could have literally almost touched this thing. And then all of a sudden it zapped me. It zapped Martin. Martin is sick. He's bent over the steering wheel and he's saying, I can't breathe. I said, and my legs were tingly. It's like your legs go to sleep when that happens to you. You can't hardly feel them. And my upper chest felt like something was compressing on it. I had a headache. You're a little disoriented. Martin's hollering, I can't breathe. My throat's swelled together. I can't get air. This creature gets up out of the ditch. It walks to the right of me. It walks around my side of the truck, goes behind the truck. We hit the lights on the truck that we got big lights on it. And a flashlight, a big beam flashlight. I'm trying to figure out where's this creature at. And I'm trying to function enough to be able to move around, but I'm sick. Martin is really sick. And this creature goes around the other side of the truck, goes on down Martin's side and walks into a field to the left of Martin. And it looks back at us. And I'm trying to shine the light in that area to make sure this thing's not going to come after us. And the strangest thing about this creature, it was a full-bodied creature walking, but but it was transparent at the same time. And I don't know how that's possible, but it was. And I was worried that we weren't going to make it out of there. Martin kept saying, I can't breathe. So I said, let me, and I started getting my legs back a little bit. I started feeling a little better where I could move around. I said, let me drive. He said, no, let me get us on down this road. And leaned on the steering wheel. We're driving 2 or 3 miles an hour. This is a gravel road. And you got to be real careful there. You get off into one of those ruts there or down in one of those ravines, you're not getting out of there. You're not going to walk back. Well, there's nowhere to walk to. You're in the middle of, you're miles away from anything or anybody. And finally we get on down and he turned around and we get, I try to talk him into let me drive because I'm feeling a little better. I can at least move around even though I had a headache and still feel kind of congested. But he was really sick. He said his tongue had swelled together, his throat had swelled up, and I'm thinking he's going to pass out. I'm really worried. I said, let's go to the hospital. We get on down, back on the trace. We're driving probably 20 miles an hour in a 45, 50 mile an hour zone. There is no trucks or cars on the road there at that time of night. But we finally get to a check-in station, pull over where the street lights, and I get him out. I get some water. He drinks a little water. He gets feeling a little bit better. The truck stinks so bad inside. Whatever this thing, however it did it, some kind of odor was in the truck. I can't smell that good since I had COVID in 2020, but Martin said it was so bad he couldn't. That was the part that he couldn't hardly breathe because it smelled so bad inside. And I finally got him good enough to where we were supposed to stay another night or two, but we decided just to go on home because he was that sick. And I drove back to his house and my vehicle was there. And Martin was so sick, he could barely get in the house. I was pretty worried about it. He wouldn't go to the doctor or the hospital. So, he was sick for almost 2 weeks after that. Not as sick as he was that night, but he wasn't well. And I felt better the next day. I was in pretty good shape a couple of days after. But I think that whatever this, I've been zapped by Bigfoot twice and a Dogman one time. That being my first time ever by a Dogman. I don't know what it is these creatures can do to you. I don't see how it can be infrasound. I truly believe it's some type of radiation they do to you because it makes you sick in a way that it's hard to explain. It takes a while to get. I truly believe that it's some type of radiation. My close friends Joe and Jesse Darrell of Hellbent Holler, they actually found radiation in a Bigfoot or a Dogman track with a Geiger counter a few years ago. I don't know that all these creatures have the same powers or the abilities to do what they can do, but there's something very powerful to this, as we call infrasound, zapping, whatever you want to call it. But
it's funny you bring up the infrasound and zapping because when we were heading in the other night, we brought Tim's wife Lorelei out with us, and her and I were getting zapped at the exact same time in our heads and in our chests. And Tim actually, he got zapped in a different way where it was almost like sight above his eyes was like a kaleidoscope,
Yeah.
And what brings that on? Why did they do that?
I don't know how that works. I truly believe that it's just speculation. I don't know this, but I think that, since Joe and Jesse and I have talked of Hellbent Holler, Joe and Jesse Darrell, they do a lot of research and they're really thorough with their research. They're incredible researchers. They're just incredible. Probably the best boots on the ground team out there. And when you find radiation in a track with a Geiger counter, this track could be a day old or longer. There's got to be some serious something going on for that to still be present in just a track. So I'm leaning completely to believe that it is some type of radiation that they are able to do this. And I also think that maybe Bigfoot and Dogman, I didn't know Dogman could do that, but, Bigfoot's been known to, have a terrible stench, smell so bad you can't stand it. I've honestly been around so many Bigfoot. I don't know how many I've been around over the last 30 plus years, but I've never smelt many of them. Even before when I had a good smelling sense, before I lost a lot of my smelling sense with COVID, but I never smelt many of them. But these this Dogman thing that was in that truck that night was unbelievable how bad it smelled. I almost think it's some kind of gland or something they may have for some type of way of defense when something scares them, or they're trying to run you off with that. I think maybe Bigfoot has that too. But I truly believe my late great friend Scott Carpenter. He passed away in August of 23. He got zapped numerous times in the mountains, Smoky Mountains in that area, on those trails that he walked, and some of the great footage that he caught of these creatures. And I think these things can zap you so many times, and then I think it may do damage to you. Scott died of an aneurysm, and he had been zapped the week before that, and he'd been zapped numerous times. I think you can possibly, I'm not saying that's what caused him to pass away, but I think it could have been. It's dangerous what these things can do, and we don't really know the real power of it.
Is it a warning sign? Is it a maybe a signal trying to figure out what you're all about? Have you thought about that?
I think it's a defense mechanism. I think they're either frightened or they don't trust you or think you're there to harm them. In the case, I don't try to, we're very cautious about carrying weapons, because when you go into the woods or the forest, in research, your chances of seeing a creature, with a weapon or a camera or what people don't know, are bright colored clothing, which would be orange, red, or some type of bright plaid. Your chances are a whole lot less, because the creatures don't like cameras, they don't like guns, and they don't like bright clothing. And I think it's a defense mechanism. They're letting you know, hey, look, I don't want you around me. I don't know you. I don't trust you. And I'm going to do this to you. Get away from me. That's what I think it is. And they have that ability to do that somehow, some way. These creatures are not people. It's really hard for the human being ourselves to wrap our minds around the abilities that these creatures have. I mean, I'm speaking of Bigfoot more than I am Dogman, because I don't know everything about any of them, but I know more about Bigfoot than I do Dogman. I've been researching Dogman about 5 years now. I've been researching Bigfoot for over 30. And I do believe that they know or they're feared of you, because I've never went into the woods having an intention to harm these creatures. I've never went in thinking, okay, let me shoot one, let me harm one, let's capture one. I've never had that in my mind or my heart to try to harm one of them. And I don't now, and I would never hurt one unless it was a matter of self-defense for me or my family or friends. And
right.
Why they do it, I think it's just a nervous reaction that they don't know you, they haven't been around you, and they're just precautious, so they put it on you. And they can really hurt you with it too. My second time with Bigfoot was the worst one I've ever had. I could barely go. And it was hours, and my watch even stopped on that one. It was really bad. That was in Cheatham County, Tennessee in 2018. But I don't know how they do it, but these creatures have abilities, and the higher energy that these creatures have. If you want to read something that explains a lot to you, my best friend Ron Moorhead, who he and I will have our own podcast starting next month. Sorry, Dave, I can plug that, I hope. But
no, that's perfectly fine.
Ron has wrote the best book that I've ever read, called Quantum.
Hold that thought. We'll come back to Ronald Moorhead.
Okay.
On Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. Dennis Benke, how you doing? All right, who else do we have here? John Jackson, how's it going? All right, we're all clear, buddy. This is flying on by, Daryl. Flying on by.
It's going by fast tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Always goes by fast when you're enjoying yourself.
Very true. Very true.
When you're hanging out with good friends, it's an easy thing to do.
I can listen to you speak all night, man.
Well, I mean, like I said before, I'm no expert on nothing. I can only tell you what I've experienced. So I've literally, I don't know how many nights I've spent in the woods by myself. I really don't. I would tell nobody. Let me say that again, nobody to do that, because I don't do it anymore. But there was a time when I didn't have a team, and I would go in by myself, and I had a good friend named Darrell that I took him in one time on the river to meet my friends, which I mentioned earlier on the river, and he believed me. He knew I was telling the truth. It just didn't saturate in his head that there was really these creatures. And when he seen one of them, he flipped completely out. This is a tough guy that I played ball with for years, and he ran all the way back to my truck, locked the doors, and started blowing the horn. Scared him absolutely to death when he seen that female come out and start gesturing to me. So, these things aren't for everybody, that's for sure. So, but I would suggest nobody to ever go in the woods by themselves anymore. At least take something with you. Carry a locator beacon, because the cell phone's not going to work where I go. It's pretty crazy out in some of these areas.
Yeah.
I got lost in the Blue Ridge Mountains in 2020. I was lost in there for 3 nights. I was really getting worried I wasn't going to find my way out of that.
How'd you get out?
I remember what my granddad told me. He said, boy, my granddad always called me boy, if you ever get lost in the wilderness, find a water. I found a creek, and follow that creek or that river, and you will find people. And that's what I did. I found a creek, a wide, deep creek. I mean, when I say deep, 4 or 5 foot deep in the middle. And I followed that creek for 2 days and 2 nights. And right before dark on the 3rd night, I come around a bend, and there was a house across the creek, and there was a lady sitting on her back deck reading a paper. And I yelled at her, scared her to death, and she goes, well, what do you want? I said, I'm lost. And she goes, well, I don't know you, and, what are you doing out here? And I said, I'm lost, ma'am. I've been lost in the woods for 2 or 3 nights, and I can't find my way out of here. And I've been trying to find somebody to help me get back to my vehicle. And, well, have you had anything to eat? And I said, no, I haven't had anything, just very little. I had a few snacks in my little pack that I had, and I had some water. And she said, well, just stay right there where you're at. My husband will be home in a little bit here, 30 minutes or so, and you can talk to him, and maybe he can take you back. And, I knew where I'd parked, but I didn't know where I was at. And I was actually 30 miles from where I'd parked.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like 29 point something. So by the time we drove back by his vehicle, that's how much we registered to get back to where my truck was at. So, but you don't ever want to get lost like that. I can tell you. I heard some of the weirdest noises in the woods at night. Oh my gosh, I don't even know what those noises were.
The one that freaks me out is the metal scraping at night. Don't like that sound.
Martin Groves heard that twice when the Dogman tried to attack. The evening before the Dogman attacked him.
Wow.
If you go back and watch Dave Pilatus on the Hunted, the gentleman that went missing in New York,
Yeah, the old guy.
Yeah. He supposedly, they think, the guy said that they heard a weird clashing like you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
there's a few goosebumps moments there. Daryl, hold on. We're coming back in about
all right.
25 seconds. Want to say a big thank you to Area 53, Kira, and Debaruni for the super chats. Lots of new people in our chat room tonight. Do us a favor, hit subscribe, ring that bell. We are here 7 days a week. And, of course, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. And here we go. Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate you tuning us on in to get your fill of nightly woo. Reminder to all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. We got until the top of the hour. Daryl Denton is here, hanging on out. I got to tell you, you were telling a creepy story during the break where you were lost in the forest for 3-4 days, and you ended up finding a home by following a river or a creek, and you were 30 miles away. But
almost 30 miles, yeah.
But the scary part about that was the weird, strange sounds you were hearing in the forest.
Oh my gosh, there was, of course, anytime night falls, and I'm telling you that, I was in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. And I'm talking about these mountains look like they go for hundreds and hundreds of miles of just remote forest. And I actually went to a trailhead there in the Shenandoah National Park, I believe it's called, because a friend had told me, hey, there's Bigfoot all over that trail. If you go up there, you're going to see them. So he said you have to go to the top of the hill to the mountaintop to see them, but you'll see them. And I went up there after he told me a couple of days after that and parked my truck in the parking area and grabbed my backpack and headed up the trail. And I got up there into the wilderness, the woods. It went a lot further back in there than I thought I was going to have to go because to reach that mountain was a good 5 or 6 mile hike. And it got dark on me. By the time I got back there, it was further than I thought. And I got to, looking around, I found tracks everywhere. And against the bluff wall, I found all kinds of tracks and stuff where these creatures had been walking in through there. And, I was there for a couple of reasons, but they had mentioned to me that there was quite a few juveniles there and friendly ones. So I was hoping to bring back something like I had on the river at one time because, I don't think I can ever replace that, what I went through there for nearly 5 years. That was a fantastic experience, and I wouldn't mind going through that again. But I got lost up there, and I got up there in the dark, and I couldn't come back because I didn't know how to get in. It was too dark to find the trail, and of course I didn't have a flashlight. Well, I did have a flashlight, but the batteries were low on it, and they went out pretty quick. And I didn't realize I was going to be up there in the dark, so I didn't bring it. I didn't bring anything that I needed to bring with me. So I learned to be more cautious, and I would suggest anybody take a locator beacon with them when they go into the wilderness like that, because your cell phone will not pick up. So anyway, I got lost, like Dave said. I was wandering through the woods for 2 or 3 days, and thank goodness I'd followed a creek for a couple of days and nights. And there was a lady, I went around a bend and I looked across the creek, and there was a house there on the hill, and there was a lady sitting on her back deck, and she was reading a newspaper. And I yelled across, hey ma'am, can you help me? I scared or startled her because she's out in the country and, who's this man across the river or creek? And I said, hey, I'm lost. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just trying to find my way out of here. Can you tell me where I'm at? And can you maybe call somebody to help me? And she said, my husband will be home in about 30 minutes. Just stay where you're at and you can talk to him. And thank goodness he came home and it was almost dark. And I told him what happened to me and gave him my name and everything else. And apparently he looked me up on his phone or something. He came out and said, okay. And I had to walk on down a little ways, and there was a bridge that went across the road, and I went up and went across that bridge, and then walked over to the street in front of his house, and he had me come in his house, and his wife fixed me something to drink and something to eat. They were very nice people, and I was just so glad to see people. I was pretty frightened to be in there lost like that, but he took me back. I told him where I parked and told him, he said he knew where that was at. He goes, you're a long way from there. And I said, well, how far? He said, probably 30, 40 miles. And I said, really? And by his odometer, it was almost 30 miles by the time he got me back to where my truck was parked.
Wow. Wow. Talk about the sounds you heard at night. What were you hearing?
Man, I heard some sounds that were pretty frightening. I've been in the woods a lot of times at night by myself. Back in the earlier days when I started researching, after I had the good experience, after I had lost my family on the river, I went into a lot of areas, and I had a lot of people that would contact me, either by regular message. I don't think I even had Messenger back then. By regular message, or they would somehow get my phone number, and they would call me, or they'd call somebody I knew, and those people would relate to me that they were wanting to talk to me, because I had so many people calling me about having creatures around their house. They wanted me to come out and look at them and see what they had, or come to their home or their farm or whatever. And they got pretty intense because there's no way to cover all of the calls I was doing. So there was a lot of time and money involved just in fuel alone, getting back and forth to certain places. And I had calls from another state, and I just couldn't go. I would try to relay them to somebody I knew in the area, but I didn't know that many people then because there wasn't any Facebook groups, once again, and I didn't know who to call. So a lot of those people, I would say, just call the BFRO and see if they can recommend somebody. But I used to go in the woods by myself and stay at night, and I would never suggest anybody to do that. It's not very safe, and I wouldn't do it myself now. But I've done it. And if you're going to go in, tell somebody where you're going, when you're going to be back, and exactly where you're going, where your vehicle's parked, and carry a locator beacon. And I would suggest take some type of weapon, and make sure you always have the right provisions to make it if you're lost for 3 or 4 days. Some type of warm blanket, food, and water especially, and matches to start a fire. So, but don't go in the woods by yourself, ever. I would never suggest anybody to do that.
Yeah, I'm pretty prepared with the water. Tim's laughing in the background here because literally I've got about 6 or 7 bottles of water, and every time I open up a zipper, there's a new bottle of water in there somewhere. I don't even realize it. I just stop at the store and got to get some water. Got to get some water.
Hey, that's the best way to be, though. You're prepared anyway,
Oh yeah, I think the only thing that I've forgotten in my preparedness bag is a blanket. I think that's the only thing that I've
got one of those, it looks like an aluminum thing I'll fold out, and you can put it around you, and it heats you up better than a blanket. I can't remember what it's called, but I've got 1 or 2 of them. Those things are amazing. They're, I don't know, $3 or $4 or $5, and they work as well as any blanket or better than any I've ever seen.
Right.
they fold up real thin and nice too. So
Yeah. Otherwise, I'm pretty set. I don't think Tim realized how set up I was. All of a sudden, I'm like, "Have you seen what's in the back of my Jeep?" And he's like, "No." So I started pulling out bag after bag, and he's like, "Holy cow, man!" He goes, "You're totally ready." I'm like, "Yeah, I think I am." Is what it is. Is what it is. We got about 14 minutes to go here. Daryl Denton is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Daryl, as you have, dealt with Dogman, you've dealt with Bigfoot, you prefer dealing with Bigfoot than to Dogman. What other creatures have you ran into in the forest that you can't explain?
well, I can say this much: of all the creatures I've seen, I don't know. I've seen quite a few Bigfoot over the years, and a lot of the Bigfoot I've seen were the same one numerous times. But and Dogman too, and none of those creatures. Keep this in mind because this is important, and I tell people this all the time. None of those creatures tried to harm me. I mean, a lot of times your mind can play tricks on you, and you start thinking this thing's going to harm me or kill me or whatever. But none of those creatures, they had the opportunity. The first Dogman I seen never seen me. But none of these creatures tried to do anything to harm me. So that don't mean there's not one out there that won't, because I like Scott Carpenter, the late Scott Carpenter. I do think some of these creatures would probably kill you and eat you. And I know it sounds kind of far-fetched, but I do believe that's a possibility. I kind of relate that to some of the missing 411 in the national parks. I don't think Bigfoot and Dogman is killing all these people, but I think some of those people might fall victim to some bad ones. But the weirdest creature I ever seen was two creatures actually on the same visit. Ron Moorhead, Barton Nunley, and Martin Groves. We were all four in Martin's Suburban. We're in a place in the land between the lakes, and a place we go to frequently. And we pull down and we park there and usually get out and go a little ways, or sometimes we'll just sit there with the windows down because it's a real good area. And Barton he's really good at letting out a certain yell that will normally get some type of response. He's very good at it. We'll get some type of Bigfoot or some kind of creature or sometime will, not always, but sometimes answer back. So it's pitch dark. We're parked on this gravel road in a remote area. Barton gets out and does one of his yells, as we call it. And we get this. He left one and didn't get anything. Then he did another one. And then we get back this incredible scream. And this is in the middle of nowhere. Now, if there's a person out where we're at, they've got to be in trouble because there's nowhere for them to even be. It's in the remote middle of nowhere. Where there's been many a Dogman and Bigfoot sightings and probably some other things. But this yell scream came back, and I happened to record the second one on my phone. They did it twice, and Barton turned that over to special effects people who knew what some of these vocalizations were, and they have not been able to find any creature that matched that vocalization. And I still have that recorded. And that same trip, this was in March of 2024 in Land Between the Lakes. Ron had wanted to go stay a couple days with his son who lives in Tennessee. So I drove him down. We already spent 3 or 4 nights there. It was after the Tennessee Wildman Conference. No, it was. I'm sorry. That was the second time we went in a few months. And I took Ron down to spend a couple nights with his grandson and son. And I came back, and then Martin and I went out to a certain area that's been closed down by the Forestry Service. It's a bridge with a blockade across it, and we parked the truck there. And there's a well-known campground in that area. but all of a sudden they completely closed down. And this campground had a basketball court, a little store inside. Amazing why they would shut down a campground like that, because supposedly the bridge had some kind of problem where you go in, and we didn't find any problem with it. But anyway, besides that, the bridge was closed and you couldn't go past it. We parked right up from that bridge. It's real dark and real remote back there, and we got out, and we all three had bright flashlights, and there's a couple game trails that go off down toward the lake there, one to the left toward the lake and one to the right toward a real remote, real thick area toward the undergrowth and the woods. And I start walking that way. Barton and Martin are walking the other way right toward the bridge with their flashlights. I'm probably 50 or 60 feet from them. I go off down the trail in the woods, and all of a sudden I hear something running through the woods. And it's running, like really running fast. I could hear it running, and it was running toward me. And I turned the light, my flashlight on, and shined it. And I see this white-looking humanoid thing. It's running on its hands and its feet. It has its feet, and it's running like a strangest thing I've ever seen. It's one of those things that we've heard about that I've never seen, called a crawler. People call them crawlers or skinwalkers, or I've heard them called several different things. But this thing looks like a humanoid head, except it's completely pale white, whitish gray color. It looks like its eyes are the same color, and this thing is running like on all fours, but it's a human-looking creature, real skinny, and it goes right up a tree in front of me. I yell at Martin and Barton. They hit their flashlights. Martin sees it go right up on the other side of the tree. This thing runs up a tree like a squirrel. I don't know how it did it, but it just runs right up this tree, and Martin has got his flashlight on, and I've got my flashlight. This is a real tall tree, probably 100 foot tall. And I walked around to the back side by shining my flashlight up and try to see it, and I could see it going up the tree. But every time I get my light on it, it would turn the other way where I couldn't see it around the top of the tree. And we're all three shining the light on this thing, and it's in the top of this tree, and it starts making this clicking noise, like click, click, real loud, click, clicking noise. And I'm weirded out. I'm thinking, what is this thing? I've never seen anything like this. And I looked over at Barton, and they said, get away from that thing. Back up on the road. This thing might come down and attack you. And about that time, it's clicking. And then we've got two more of these creatures behind us in the woods. They're clicking back, one from the left of me and one to the far right of me. They're clicking back, answering this thing, whatever this clicking noise of communication it was doing. These things were answering back at it. And we got pretty frightened about it. And I wanted to stay and try to get a picture of this thing, but I couldn't get a shot on it. And we heard those other ones moving through the woods, and Martin said, let's get in the vehicle, because these things may be trying to surround us. And we got in the vehicle and went on out and left. And that was probably the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. It literally looked like a human, but it was skinny, and it wasn't tall, but it was skinny, really skinny, solid pale looking, whitish gray, and just how it climbed a tree like that still amazes me. I don't know how it did that, but 2 nights later, on the trace, we had went off another gravel road back there we traveled down, and we're riding down through there. And Martin, I said, stop the truck, Martin, stop the truck. We're looking over to the left. Martin and I both see what looks like a huge bear. Looks like a big old, huge black bear. It's just sitting on the side of this bank right across from the gravel road. And it's looking at us. You can see its eyes looking at us. And we stopped and we backed up. And I'm trying to get my phone out to take a picture of it. This thing looks just like a bear. Ron's trying to see it, and Barton's on my other side of me. He's trying to get a good view of it. And this thing looks identical to a bear, except his head, the head of this thing, looks like an anteater. It's got a long snout. And we're all just, what in the world is that thing? And by the time we got backed up to where I'd roll the window down to try to take a picture, it had to run off. But that's the two strangest creatures I've ever seen. And three of us seen those creatures, and I have no idea what they were. I can only tell you what I've heard they're called. I would hate to be in the woods with one of those crawler things around by myself. I can tell you that much.
No kidding. Oh, that's enough to give you goosebumps right there. Have you ever feared for your safety? I know you talked about the LBL and the night crawlers here, but have you ever had one of those situations with one of these creatures where you didn't think you were going to make it home?
In 2022, Martin and Barton and I were in an area of the LBL that we call Area 23. It's the area we call it that. It's an area on the backside of Colson's Hollow, between there and McCumbers Bay, which has been numerous Dogman attacks in the McCumbers Bay area over the years. We were camping in Area 23. We had cooked a big dinner that night, and Martin and Barton and I had, and we had just finished dinner up, and we looked up to the right, to the left of the hill, and it was not dark, but just almost dark. It was dusk, just about to get dark, and I seen something moving on the hill to the left, and it wasn't moving fast. It was just barely moving real slow. It was a Bigfoot peeking around a tree, and it was a pretty good sized one. It was up the hill to the left-hand side behind a big old cedar tree, and it would just look out and look at us a little bit, and then it would just be stationary. You couldn't, like it almost blended in with the tree, but I could see it watching us. And I told Barton, I said, "You got a Bigfoot to the left up on the hill next to that big old cedar tree." And he was trying to see it, and Martin was trying to see it too. And Martin did see it. And about that time, Martin gets zapped by something. And he was really sick. And on down a little ways, probably a quarter mile down, there's a campground from where we're at. And they have a restroom down there with lights, and it's not all the way dark yet, and Martin's really sick. He feels like he's going to throw up because I don't know why he got zapped and we didn't, but he did. And I take him down there. I drive him down there in his vehicle, and he goes in the restroom and tries to get himself feeling a little better, and get back in the truck, and we go back, and he's kind of laid back in his seat over there as we back up into the spot that we were in the woods there. And he's not feeling good at all. And matter of fact, he had another attack where he thought he was going to throw up on himself, and I run him back down there. Barton's sitting next to the fire. We got a fire going, and he's sitting next to it. He said, "I'm good. Y'all go." I said, "Barton, I'm not leaving you here by yourself. You got to go with us." So we run down there. He went in and pressed himself up again, got some water on his face, and cleaned himself up a little bit. And we come back, and we started. That was
Daryl. I hate to cut you off right there, but we only got about 5 seconds left, my friend.
5 seconds. Later on, it was 3 or 4 hours later. We were surrounded by what we believed to be dogmen. We could hear them howling.
Holy cow! Daryl Denton, everybody, the Tennessee Bigfoot hunter. We'll bring him back soon. Swamp Dweller, Little Timmy James are next in hour 3.
Thank you,
You're
everyone.
listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, my friend, good job. Hold on, why do I not hear you now? Oh, because I got you on mute. That's why.
That's all right.
All right. Great job, Daryl. Thank you, buddy.
No problem, brother. Glad to tell you. I'll finish that story for you sometime. It was pretty crazy. It was the scariest sight I've had, and we had Dogman all around us.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, that's enough to scare the hell out of me. All right, bro. You take care. Have a great night. Give Rosie a big hug for us, okay?
I will, buddy. Stay in touch. Tell your wife hello.
Will do, buddy. Take care.
See you, man.
Bye. Daryl Denton, everybody. We'll be right back. Just an awesome dude. Yeah, exactly. All right, peoples. How do you enjoy Daryl tonight? I love him. Loved him. Moody Mongol, how you doing? Grantavius Minimus. That's perfect. I've drank so much water today, I feel like bloated. I know, but I still feel bloated. No, it didn't, Fapperoonie. Thank you to our 3 super chatters tonight, Deboruni, Kira, and Area 53 for the great super chats. Really appreciate it. Don't forget you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We have no ugly... Hold on, I got to turn your mic on.
What's that you're pointing at?
Stop. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate you tuning us in. Swamp Dweller and Little Timmy James coming up here momentarily. But first, hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us, Clam? Tim and Ear. Tim and Ear is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam says the password each and every night, right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. We take our 2 dogs outside to their kennels so they can get out of the house for a while and run and play. These are not small dogs. One is a black lab husky mix, and the other is a full-blooded Staffordshire Terrier, or a pit bull. The kennels are placed at the edge of the yard near the woods. These woods are oversized, large enough to take a day to go hiking through them. Lately, when it gets dark, the dogs seem on edge. They will bark and whine toward the house to come in. At first, I thought they just wanted to get back into the house, but now I think they're actually scared. 3 nights ago, when I went to get them, it was already pretty dark, but we have a security light, so it's not like it's pitch black or anything. I got to the front of the first kennel and noticed both dogs were absolutely silent. They constantly bark at me excitedly when I go to them, but they are dead silent this time. This weirded me out a little, but not to the point of being scared. I will admit that there was a certain uneasiness in the air though, something I can't quite explain, but it's sort of like an electric feeling, like I was about to be shocked. The longer I was there, the more uneasy I felt. I started getting out the first dog, the lab, and heard a heavy snap in the woods near the kennels. I froze. The dogs froze. By this time, I was so on edge that if someone had spoken, I would have jumped, screamed, and possibly ran for my entire life. The creepy feeling in the air just kept getting thicker. The lab had put her bushy tail stuffed underneath her and was whining. This didn't make me feel any better. The pit bull was as far away from the woods as she could be, whimpering for me to come get her. I can only take 1 dog in at a time because they get too excited and sometimes try to fight, so I avoid that at all cost. I felt so bad leaving the pitty there by herself, but I had to do it. As I walked away, she barked this high-pitched whining type of bark at me that I had never heard her do before. The lab could not get to the house quick enough. I went back for the other one and dreaded every step as her door was to the base of the woods. I would have to turn my back to the woods to open her door and get her out. As I approached the kennel, the air felt heavy and stale, with an unpleasant smell like a dead skunk. Another snap and I was ready to run for it, but I didn't want to leave my dog, who had her head defensively facing the woods. I could barely make it. It felt like trying to walk through water. I was terrified by the time I reached the door. I heard heavy breathing behind me as I got my dog out. She was scared, but started growling behind me. I was frozen in place. The breathing continued for at least a minute before I heard steps coming toward us. We both took off at the same time. A terrifying scream came from the base of the woods. I didn't dare look back. I just ran. My pity pulled me back to the house. I got in, flipped off all the lights, and stared out the window at the woods. I could see something moving slightly, but just out of my sight. It moved back and forth about 5 times, then disappeared. It took me forever to fall asleep because I was so scared that every little noise freaked me the heck out. The next night I went to get the dogs earlier. Right around dusk, I thought all was good until I was getting my pity out. A very loud snapping sound rang out as a tree branch had just been snapped in half. It sounded far away, so I hurriedly got my dog and started walking toward the house. A few steps from the kennel, I heard something big that started charging toward me from inside the woods. We ran again, which appeared to follow for so long, then retreat. Now, every night since then I hear sounds coming out of the woods like branches breaking and being thrown around, knocking on trees and roaring. I am terrified. I no longer take my dogs down there. I take them for walks instead during the day and make sure we are all in before dusk. I don't know what to do. I'm thinking about buying a gun, but I'm not sure it will help.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another creepy story. If you want more just like that, head on over to his YouTube channel, Swamp Dweller. Check it on out. Hit subscribe, ring that bell, because he's there 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. Time for the UFO report.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
Little Timmy James in studio this evening to break down everything UFO, and it's been a lot of news kind of coming along the way, but first we should update people on our recent trip to Flight 21.
Yes. Interesting evening, to say the least.
I don't know what it was with the infrasound hitting us about 3 miles on the before we got to the location, and then along the trail to get in.
Yes. It hit you and my wife super hard, and I know that when we were driving in, you were explaining it, but I wasn't feeling it like you guys were because I'm not quite like that. But yeah, once we got up in there, it was different. It was different this week compared to the previous week. There's no question.
Yeah, it was definitely different. I mean, the energy was strong. The birds were out, which was very weird.
I know. After us always saying it's dead silent. No, that was the first time that I'd experienced it up there. And yeah, you're right. It was. They were going to town up there.
What do you think that was about?
I'm not sure. I mean, I know that it had poured rain all day, and I mean, obviously, that's when it stops raining and that sun comes out, everything else comes out. But yeah, it seemed almost not menacing or warning, but it almost seemed welcoming to me. It was like, wow, that's kind of nice here in the mall up in here. Didn't last very long though, did it?
Yeah. I know that feeling.
It went quiet pretty quick. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just the area just going, hey, it's these guys again, and just kind of welcoming us back, and or alarming us. But yeah, I didn't feel like that.
Couple of strange things happen. We went and checked the quarter that we replaced traded for the dime.
Right.
Which was traded for a loony, which was traded for a staff.
Yep.
But nothing there.
Nope. Quarter was gone.
we looked everywhere. We looked everywhere for the quarter. We looked everywhere for a potential gift back. Personally, what I think happened was that I think a person was in that area, walked up the trail, saw something shiny on the ground. Oh, there's a quarter, and picked it up.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you. It just seemed very normal that way. It wasn't like, I didn't have any feelings with that. I was just like, somebody was up here, and it was a long weekend up here before that, or before we went back up there. And so, I'm thinking you're right. I think somebody just went, hey, look, a quarter, and pocketed it, right? But
so what we've done is that we've actually replaced it with blue marbles. Now, from everything that I have heard, Sasquatch has a thing for blue marbles.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to try it out. We put a couple of marbles in that spot, and now it's a matter of just wondering whether or not they are able to take them.
Well, the cool thing about it is that when we put them down there, and it will be in the video, that they're very hard to see, but they're not impossible to see. And not like a coin where you can spot it. Yeah, this will be, they're a little more camouflaged.
Yeah.
Right?
What was the one thing that freaked you out?
You know what freaked me out? There was a couple of things. I think it was the headaches that everybody seemed to be getting, but I would say that it was my eyesight that was really weird. And then my wife going into that spot, and us finding out from Dave that she says that I've never felt alien energy. And she walked into this area and said, it's strong. It was super strong. So when she called Dave over, Dave came over and then said to her, this is where Samantha Mowat had the exact same thing. That freaked me out in a cool way. But I think it was my eyesight. My eyesight was very strange. I've never had that experience before. And the energy up there just really quick. The energy up there this time around I found wasn't in pockets. It seemed to be swirling. And then what I found too is, again, didn't feel like we were in trouble or anything, but I had my baseball hat on it and obviously my glasses, but it was like everything peripherally above my eyebrows was like kaleidoscopy and blurry. But then when I'd look up to see what it was, it'd go away and the sky'd be all blue. And then as soon as I turn away and look straight ahead again, right up above my eyebrows again, the sky kind of disappeared, and I got this super, super kaleidoscope of colors. So that happened, on and off for basically the whole night. That was really weird.
I thought it was weird that we were actually hearing voices.
Again, that too.
I'm hoping the microphones picked them up, because it literally sounded like there was children's voices all around us. I
had thought that I heard a lady kind of cough and laugh at the same time way off in the distance too from where we were sitting. We'd walked around in some different areas this time around, so it was interesting. But far off to, I guess, our 11 o'clock, for example, is where I heard that kind of I was like, but in a lady's voice, I was like, is that ever weird off in the distance?
Yeah. And let us preface this, that there's nobody around.
No.
Okay. Like, even coming in, there aren't a lot of turnoffs where people would go camping in the middle of the woods there.
No.
There aren't a lot of areas, like even when you get off the main logging road and you turn onto the trail to head to Flight 21, there isn't a bunch of turnoffs on there. As if you go back and check the first video that we put out on our YouTube channel, okay, there's no turnoffs. There's no other trails that break off from it.
No.
It's impossible to be hearing people there when you're the only ones there. And so, is that members of the flight? Is it other spirits of the force? Is it the little people? Is it gnomes? What could it be? But the children were back, though.
Yes,
Okay.
without question.
And I'm just hoping that you're going to be able to pick that up.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that creeped me out, and I know we got to wrap this up to get to the UFO report. The other thing that creeped me out about the forest that night was when all of a sudden we started hearing something big walking through the trees, probably 50, 60 yards from us.
Easy. Yep.
And this was from the crash site going straight through the trees.
Mm-hmm.
And we all kind of stood up, and I decided that I was going to be the idiot and start walking towards that sound. And I was talking to it.
Yes.
You know, hey, how are you? We're here to see you. Mm-hmm. We'd love for you to join us, everything like that. And all of a sudden, way off in the distance in that same spot, there was that little bit of samurai chatter, that just like that. Just like that.
Goosebumps. Yeah, that's...
And I turned to Tim immediately. Did you hear that? And he's like, yep. You know?
Yes.
And that one kind of got me because we were all feeling like something big was watching us at that point.
Yes, we definitely were. And it was cool, but I would say just a little bit uncomfortable when that happened, because everybody's face lights up, and you look at everybody's faces, and they're all with eyeballs as big as saucers, and you're like, what? Oh my! Everybody gets energy off of each other. It was pretty interesting, but yes, I'm hoping that we get that audio as well.
But I think it's also a sign of we're either getting closer to something, or we are really starting to make a mark there.
I think that I would suggest that making the mark. I think the energy that we've gone in there with has been very, very open and mellow, and I think that they don't see us as a threat, and I think that we're going to get a lot of stuff sooner than later. A lot more.
I just hope that when we get there, it is something that we can or pardon me, when you get to the tapes, because people are already asking when is that next video going up on your YouTube channel, and you're hoping to have it done by.
I'm hoping that before the weekend this time. I won't lose any of the footage in my files.
Yeah, so I think what we're going to end up doing there is, I'm really hoping that we get the audio.
That's huge. You're right.
Yeah, I want to hear that audio a little bit more, and I know you're going to try and bump it up a little bit on the video, but it is pretty amazing.
Incredible. Yeah.
If we end up getting those children again, and if it's that same voice, that's going to trip me out. That's where I'm going to be calling Merle up, saying, "Hey, buddy, you may need to come up here." Give him the old Merly bird. Get him up here. What's happening in the UFO world?
Well, little bits and pieces and dribs and drabs and all that sort of fun stuff. So I'm just having a look here. So we've got David Grush is, I guess his court hearing has just come up. So hang on, I'm hitting the wrong buttons here. So David Grush, UFO whistleblower David Grush's trial against Sheriff's Office begins in Florida. So in St. Petersburg, Florida, this week, a highly anticipated civil trial commenced in St. Petersburg, Florida, pitting UFO whistleblower David Grush against the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office. Grush, a former Air Force officer and intelligence official, is suing the Sheriff's Office for $2.5 million, alleging the illegal release of his private medical and police records to The Intercept in an effort to discredit his 2023 congressional testimony about unidentified aerial phenomena. The trial, which has drawn attention from UFO researchers and the public, centers on claims that the Sheriff's Office violated Grush's privacy by leaking sensitive details about his past struggles with post-traumatic stress disorder. Grush's attorney, Mark Zaid, argued in a court that the Sheriff's Office intentionally released private records to undermine Grush's credibility after he testified before Congress about the U.S. government's possession of non-human craft. This was a targeted effort to smear a whistleblower who spoke truth to power Zaid told the court, emphasizing that the leaked records, which detailed a 2018 incident involving Grush's mental health, was meant to cast doubt on his UAP claims. Grush's testimony had sparked widespread interest, particularly after his News Nation interview with journalist Ross Coulthart, who has championed the case for government transparency on UFO and UAP. The defense representing the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office countered that the records were released lawfully under public information protocols. There was no malicious intent, said the sheriff's attorney, according to the court's reports. The information was provided in response to a legitimate request and compiled with existing regulations. The defense is expected to argue that the records released did not specifically target Grush's whistleblower status, but was part of standard procedure. The trial's opening day focused on procedural motions and initial statements, with Grush's legal team pushing for discovery to uncover who authorized the release and whether it was coordinated to discredit him. We want to know who made the call and why, Zaid stated, signaling an intent to expose any broader agenda behind the leak. Some online discussions have speculated that Grush's lawsuit could reveal more about efforts to suppress UFO and UAP whistleblowers through these claims remain unverified. The case has stirred significant interest with the UFO community, with attendees at the recent Contact in the Desert conference, where Coulthart delivered a keynote citing Grush's trial as a critical moment for disclosure advocates. The trial is expected to continue through the week, with testimony potentially shedding light on the intersections of privacy rights and government efforts to manage UFO-related narratives. For now, Grush's pursuit of justice underscores the challenge faced by whistleblowers in the contentious field of UFO research.
There's a couple of things I want to say about this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, number one, it is never a good sign when you are taking in someone's personal life.
No.
Okay, as a journalist, this is where Ken Klippenstein took a lot of heat from us, from other journalists in the field. He was writing for The Intercept, and eventually The Intercept canceled his contract because of the amount of heat that he was taking. So an unwritten rule in journalism, in mainstream journalism, and journalism in general, is you never report on somebody's personal plights. Okay. Especially mental health, or if they come down with a disease or something. Now, if it's somebody like a politician, or there are caveats to that. Right. If it's a politician, where, let's say, who cares, or even an actor.
Right.
Okay, pick an actor that has come down with cancer, or killed in a car crash, or whatever it may be. It is the choice of their person, their publicist, to release that information at that time, or their publicist will say, Joe Blow is suffering from, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma right now. Okay, so they can choose to release it. So one of the things that we don't do in journalism is there are certain things we don't cover. Unless it's somebody famous, you never cover somebody who's offed themselves.
Right.
Okay. If you never cover somebody's personal mental health, and that's what Klippenstein did.
Right.
We know somebody from the government tipped off Klippenstein saying, hey, you might want to check out his medical records from a couple years ago, where he was having severe trauma from PTSD, which led to his alcoholism. I will defend David Grush to the nth degree on this one. I'd never talked to the man, don't know him, but the way Klippenstein went at him, claiming that he couldn't be doing what he was doing because of psychotic episodes created by alcohol and his PTSD, plus his depression and anxiety that comes along with that. It's unconscionable how somebody could say that was good journalism.
Right.
And the only people who have really argued against that are the skeptics and the debunkers who think that he's full of crap. He may be full of crap, but you know what? You still don't attack a person's health. UFO Report continues.
This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott.
We'll continue with that because I just want to give that point.
Absolutely.
We'll continue with that here.
For sure. Video's going to be good, people. The video's going to be good again.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Definitely did end up with a headache, though, after that.
Yeah.
It was kind of weird.
The headache is always kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm. But you guys were getting it in the forehead, you were saying. I was getting it right in the back of my skull. It was like, man.
Well, you know what? I was getting it all over.
Yeah.
I was getting it all over.
Were you getting it in the side at one point, too, when we were driving in?
Firewater, how you doing? Joe, to answer your question, speaking of big feet talking, is your area anywhere near the quarry where they heard your voice coming through the woods? That was Rambo who heard that. No, that is about, see, that's at the 15, 16 kilometer mark. And then we got to go another 19, 20 kilometers. It's about 20 kilometers or about 15 miles difference in between the two. I'm tired, man.
Yeah, you and me both.
I am tired.
Tell by the silence.
I know. You know how I know you're tired? You're giving me the 8-second answers.
I know. I realize that too,
Yeah.
you stooge. Right?
I'm like, come on, buddy.
I know. I'm thinking the same thing.
Radio.
Yep. What'd you think of it? Good.
Yeah. How'd your day go? It was good. Good job today.
What'd you do?
Worked a little bit.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, there it is.
I know.
Good thing I'm just not leaning back.
Oh, dude, if I leaned back, I would fall asleep.
I know.
All because of damn Blacklist.
Yeah.
I started binge watching at 11:30 last night.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, about 11 o'clock last night, Blacklist. Yeah. 4 episodes later, it's 2:22 in the morning.
Oh, you got time for one more.
I almost said that, dude. I almost said that. And I was like, no. Going to bed.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I feel ya.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What the heck happened there?
What the freak out frick.
Making it up as we go.
So Saturday, we're going back out again.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, we're going to press you here.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get these videos out, Timmy.
Oh, yeah.
Timmy, the pressure's on.
That's okay.
Hi.
Tabby. Might have to mail it in on Wednesday night from my place, if that's the case. Because tomorrow night it's my lovely wife's birthday. And your lovely wife's birthday.
Yes.
They're birthday twins.
That little Tara Spender's birthday.
That's right.
We got a hat trick.
Uh-huh.
With it, we got the June 3rd triangle around here.
We do. We do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, get my report done in the day and then edit Wednesday before the show.
There we go.
See? That's awesome, Mr. Heat Miser. Boo.
This looks horrible.
Looks awesome.
Looks horrible. Oh, my. Thank you tonight to CS, Debaruni ×2, Kira, and Area 53 for the lovely super chats. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. And don't forget you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why we do not have ugly swag. People know ugly swag, so go check it out today. Get your stuff now. Then send a picture and take it to us. Take a picture and send it to us. That sounds proper English. Here we go. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio, the UFO Report with Little Timmy James. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you for tuning us in. Thank you for paying attention to our nightly weirdness. Nightly weirdness, we'll call it. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, our archives are always free on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. He's Little Timmy James, our UFO reporter. I'm Dave Scott, the host. This is the UFO Report. Right before the break, you were talking about David Grush and the fact that his court case started against the Loudoun County Sheriff's Office in Virginia regarding them leaking his medical records to freelance journalist Ken Klippenstein, who wrote a hit piece about Grush's credibility and his health situation. Now, here's the thing about that story. I don't know if do you think he wins? Do you think it goes the full way? Do you think they settle? What do you think is going to happen? Because usually in cases, it goes one of two ways. They either settle or it gets dismissed.
Right. Well, they also brought his wife into it as well, if I remember correctly, when he reported. So I would think that I think it's going to go the distance. I actually do. I think that the sheriff's department doesn't figure that they've done anything wrong. But yeah, I think it might go to the distance. I think that they might want to make an example of this. And Grush gets a payday, and rightfully so, as far as I'm concerned. You don't do that sort of stuff. You don't attack somebody like that. And I mean, PTSD for a reason. I mean, it's always for a reason. But I mean, you don't attack a guy like that, and then But giving that information out is what gets me. I just don't understand. When okay, yeah, we've got a bunch of stuff here. Here, we'll give it to a reporter. So you can't tell me that you didn't know what that reporter or journalist was going to do with it, right? You can't say that you didn't know. Oh, we're just giving it to him because he asked for it. So, yeah, I'm thinking it's going to go the distance, and I think that there'll be some precedent set. I would hope.
Well, here's the thing. A reporter can request anything, but who tipped him off to hit them up? And because it is a most cases are public. Right. So he is able to get the information, but he ran with it. Okay. So is the Loudoun County Sheriff's Department really at fault here for releasing the information to the journalist requesting it? Or is Ken Klippenstein at fault for not only asking for the personal stuff that he was tipped off to, and it's been very public in the past,
yes,
that he was tipped off to this by people and sources within the Pentagon,
right,
and the alphabet agencies, telling them to check up on David Grush's mental status. And with that, he took it a little too far in writing the article. So this is what I think is going to pan out here before we move on.
Yeah.
And I'll get your opinion. I think that the case gets dismissed.
Okay.
Or settled. And I think that they do not go after Klippenstein because, let's face it, freelance journalist is like starving artist.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. It is, or radio show host from Canada.
Good point.
Okay, you're lucky to get one meal a week on your salary. So I don't know if he goes after depending on the success of this, does he go after the Intercept and Klippenstein? We're going to see.
Yeah. I don't know. You make a good point, too. Yeah, they may just want to cut ties and go, okay, let's just keep this on the lowdown. And
if Grush wins this case against or settles against this, against the sheriff's office,
right,
I think he goes after the Intercept next.
Yeah.
Because it would make sense.
Sure.
Okay, they're under their watch, the Intercept allowed the hit piece to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now where does that fall under the Fourth Amendment of journalistic rights? Okay, and freedom of speech. How does that play out? That's where it's going to get a little nasty. What else do you got for us tonight?
Well, as we know, I think, and if you don't, Anna Paulina Luna last week had said that maybe they should start cutting funding or defund Arrow. So Sean Kirkpatrick,
your favorite buddy,
my favorite guy, has jumped in to defend Arrow's honor. So Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the former director of the Pentagon's Arrow, recently issued a sharp rebuttal to calls for defunding the office he once led, a move that has sparked debate about his credibility and motives. Representative Anna Paulina Luna proposed slashing Arrow's budget, arguing that another organization is better equipped to handle the UAP/UFO investigations with greater transparency. Kirkpatrick's response, shared through a statement to the press, defends Arrow's missions but has drawn criticism for its tone and its apparent disconnect from the office's contentious track record, leaving some observers questioning his judgment. Kirkpatrick, who stepped down as Arrow's director in December of 2023, argued that the office is essential for addressing potential national security threats posed by UFO and UAP. He emphasized that Arrow's work under his tenure involved rigorous scientific analysis of over 800 reported cases, with findings that consistently debunked extraterrestrial claims in favor of mundane explanations like optical illusions, drones, or foreign surveillance technology. In his statement, Kirkpatrick accuses critics, including Representative Luna, as misunderstanding Arrow's purpose and succumbing to conspiracy-driven decision-making. He suggested that defunding Arrow would undermine efforts to protect U.S. airspace and dismissed the idea of a more effective alternative organization as baseless. However, Kirkpatrick's defense has painted him as out of touch in the eyes of skeptics. Critics argue that his tenure at Arrow was marked by a lack of transparency, a charge that undermines his current stance. Reports from 2024 included Arrow's own historical review, found no evidence of extraterrestrial activity, but were criticized for their limited scope and failure to engage the whistleblowers, like David Grush, who alleged government cover-ups of UAP programs. Kirkpatrick's public refusal to entertain these claims, coupled with his assertion that no credible whistleblower approached Arrow, has been seen as dismissive and overly defensive. His critics contend that this posture ignores legitimate concerns about the office's investigative thoroughness, particularly regarding reported UAP and UFO incidents near sensitive nuclear sites, which some veterans claim were inadequately followed up. The debate over Arrow's funding remains unresolved, with no official decision confirmed as of this week. Representative Luna's proposal, while vague, reflects a broader push to reassess government spending and efficacy in UAP investigations. Kirkpatrick's outspoken defense, intended to protect Arrow's mission, instead highlights his apparent refusal to engage with the office's shortcomings. To many, this stance cast him as a figure more concerned with institutional loyalty than with addressing the public's demand for clarity on one of the most intriguing mysteries of our time. As the conversation around UAP evolves, Kirkpatrick's remarks may be remembered less for their conviction and more for their failure to bridge the gap between skepticism and accountability.
Is he saving face, or is he taking a stand defending the program that he was truly the first leader of? Because in the end, many people in the UFO world and even in the political world looked at him, the lies he told. I mean, there was a big dust up between him and Brandon Fugel a couple of years ago on X, where Brandon Fugel, the owner of Skinwalker Ranch, had stated that he had briefed Arrow on what was going on at Skinwalker. Kirkpatrick denied it, and then the photographic evidence was proven. I mean, so either this guy, let's face it, he's a government guy.
Sure.
Okay, he's a patriot. He's America first, and I'm going to do my job to defend this country until my last breath. And God bless him for that.
Sure.
Okay, but when you're caught in lies, okay, and it's not just ULPs or UIPs, okay, hint, hint, okay, but when you're caught in lies like that, blatant lies saying, oh, those conversations never happened, and then the photographic evidence comes out from the person who is accusing you of being there.
Yes.
That's a little bit, disrespectful to the cause.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make your program look very good.
No. I think it's a little mix of both, actually. I think he's trying to save face and go, and as I read, he's gone back to look at what we did. Well, you didn't really do a lot of anything. I mean, in all fairness. And I think it's also, it's Old Home Week. He's going to go back and he's going to defend his boys club. And you know what? I give him marks for that. Sticking up for his group. He's sticking up for his team or his old team. Good for him. But it still doesn't make it his argument he still has his reputation, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I think that reputation, no matter what he says, isn't going to sway anybody to the left or to the right or any direction. I think it's like, oh gosh, here we go. Right? My opinion.
But did he do the cause any good? I think Anna Paulina Luna's biggest issue with it right now is the fact that they were getting nothing from Arrow. Exactly. It was all Chief Wiggum, nothing to see here. Mm-hmm. Okay? And they got sucked into that.
Yeah.
And they got fed up with it. Mm-hmm. So to sit there and say that this is something that, wasn't caused by him or caused by whatever, that's crap.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay? The politicians in there, I wish they had some heavyweight politicians in there, okay, to actually wake these guys up.
Oh, yeah.
And had the power to put them under subpoena and under oath.
Yeah.
That way, if they could do that, they would get some results. Okay? Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's enough respect there. I think what Kirkpatrick's trying to do is give a verbal, little slap on the shoulder saying it's time for you to leave, Congress people. Leave me alone. Okay? You don't know what you're talking about. You're way in over your head. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah. But are they? Are they in over their head? Or is it just that plain to see?
Well, when you keep interviewing and asking the same people to interview and you're looking for different answers.
Yeah.
Okay. It's doing the same thing every day.
True.
And hoping for different results.
Insanity.
Which is the definition of insanity. What else do you got for us?
Well, let's see. You ever heard the story of good old Ted? You got to have heard the story of good old Ted. So good old Ted is from Rachel, Nevada. This is right. So in the dusty speck of Rachel, Nevada, right by the enigmatic Area 51, rancher Ted Baxter had a UFO encounter in March of 1995. At about 7 p.m., Ted was rattling down the extraterrestrial highway, we've been there, in his old Ford pickup, the sky glowing with streaks of pink and purple, when he spotted a triangular craft about 20 feet wide, its sleek surface shimmering with red, blue, and green lights like a neon sign gone rogue. It hovered slightly over a scraggly Joshua tree, looking like it had taken a wrong turn from a sci-fi movie. Ted, a grizzled 50-something with a faded Stetson and a knack for tall tales, wasn't fazed by much, But this was next level weird. He pulled over, and dust swirled around his boots as he gave a cheeky wave, yelling, "Hey, you aliens want a cold one or what?" To his astonishment, the craft let out a soft, vibrating hum that tickled his ribs and drifted closer, stirring a warm breeze. A small hatch slid open with a faint hiss, and out floated two lanky figures, barely 4 feet tall, with oversized heads and glossy black eyes that sparkled like wet obsidian under the desert stars. The aliens, moving with an eerie grace, pointed spindly fingers at Ted's battered toolbox in the truck bed. "You guys need a mechanic?" Ted quipped, grabbing a scuffed crescent wrench, its handle worn from years of being from fixing barbed wire fences. He tossed it gently, and one of the aliens snatched it in midair, twirled it like a baton with a flourish that almost seemed playful. In return, the other alien lobbed a metallic orb, golf ball sized, warm to the touch, and pulsing with a faint green glow that flickered like a heartbeat. Ted barely had time to marvel before the figures glided back into their craft. With a final twinkle of lights, the triangle shot skyward, vanishing into the Nevada night. Clutching his glowing prize, Ted sped to the little alien inn, Rachel's UFO-themed watering hole, and plopped the orb on the bar, where it gave a cheeky buzz. "Traded a wrench for alien swag," he crowed to the crowd of laughing locals and wide-eyed tourists. He swore the orb hummed at night, keeping his old hound awake, but he never sent it for testing. Half convinced government suits would swoop him. A ufologist years later dismissed it as a slick paperweight, likely a prank exploiting Area 51's aura, but Ted stood firm, grinning as he spun the tale at the cosmic bar. It's a gem of a story from Rachel's UFO lore. No abduction, just a rancher swapping tools with space visitors like they were neighbors, trading garden tips, leaving everyone chuckling at the desert's oddball charm. He still holds that orb to this day.
Cool.
Yeah. That's what happens. We've been there.
We've been there. We've been there. We road tripped there.
That's right.
Yeah, man.
We most certainly did. Very cool. Very cool.
If you've ever been to Rachel, Nevada, you will know that it is a one gas station, one burger joint, which is the little alien. Mm-hmm. That's it. And then you have a bunch of trailers.
Yes.
Around the area.
Yeah. Yeah.
And some farmyards with more trailers in it.
Lots of single wides and double wides down there. That's
yes.
for sure.
And we're not talking the newer kind that you're like, hey, I might want to live in there.
Yeah.
No, I would say a few of these have some scorpion collections inside the walls.
Mm-hmm. We're talking like early 70s style, some of them.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they obviously don't get a lot of rain.
No, only when we're there.
Yeah, apparently. Apparently only when we're there.
Absolutely.
You could have kept the dust down.
No,
we got 3 minutes. You got anything more for us?
Yeah, I got a small something other here. So, this is all speculation at this point in time. So, apparently, a 530-page document purportedly leaked this week has sparked controversy with claims that the Pentagon contractors devised a 2009 propaganda campaign called Project Forum, aimed at shaping public perception of identified aerial phenomenon across the United States. The alleged plan, detailed in the extensive report, reportedly involved leveraging mainstream media to promote a special narrative about UAPs and UFOs, raising questions about government transparency and information control. The document, which has not been independently verified, outlines strategies to deploy aggressive propaganda, including coordinated efforts to influence journalists and media outlets. Sources familiar with the leak suggest plans sought to frame UAP sightings in ways that align with national security interests, though the exact motives remain unclear. Critics argue this could point to a deliberate attempt to manipulate public disclosure, while others caution that the document's authenticity, and context require further scrutiny. Government officials have yet to comment officially on the leak, and no major outlet has confirmed the document's legitimacy. If verified, The document could reignite debates over the government secrecy and the role of media in shaping public understanding of unexplained phenomenon. Investigations into the leaks, origins, and content are ongoing, with experts urging caution until more details emerge.
If this is true, that goes along everything we have said on this show.
What?
Control the media, control the message.
Right.
This is why I believe it is 100% true.
Yep.
I really do believe it is 100% true on that. And I just don't understand why they can't get it out. I want to see that out.
Yes.
Because everything we have talked about on this show, about the narrative, the controlling of the media, the controlling of the YouTube channels, the controlling of the guests, okay, who are only speaking to certain people. Everybody has said to us, point blank.
Yep.
Not everybody, but our critics have said to us, oh, you guys are just whining.
Yes.
You guys are just complaining because you can't get them.
Yeah.
If this document is real, it proves everything that we have stated is actually happening.
Wouldn't that be sweet?
It's so obvious.
I know, it's like right in your face. Right in your face.
You don't have to be a PhD student to figure this out. If you actually took your emotions out of it.
Yes.
Because we're all very emotional about UFOs.
Absolutely.
We're passionate about UFOs. It's what I love about this field. The people who have had encounters or just want to learn about it, they are passionate about this subject. If you take that passion and that bias away and you look at it, you're like, wow, you had to do that.
Yes, I did.
And you learned.
I did, for sure.
Timmy, thank you for another great night of UFO Report as we say goodnight to Tim. And hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. Rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAM, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Deb asks for our safe word.
I know.
So I put up Boston cream donuts and no response. Nothing. No response.
Boston cream donuts.
Trying to do a show here. Give her the safe word because I multitask.
That's it.
And no response. Man, oh, no, we're June now.
Yes.
June 2nd, 25.
Dave said cream. What?
Tim Mothman and his goatee. Tugging the world as you can see. All right. Oh. Excuse me. Holy. Love Daryl Denton.
Mm-hmm. Harder is the safe word for Dave.
No, it's not. maybe your safe word, Amanda. Not mine. If you want to make Dave happy, it's always about food.
Yeah.
Always about food. Or GNR.
Yeah. Chimichanga.
Paradise City. Rocket Queen. Be my Rocket Queen.
Ding, 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 ding. Oh, man. So you get to be the boss tomorrow, huh?
And Wednesday.
Me too. Yeah, I got some stuff to do tomorrow afternoon. Bring old Davy an ice cap.
About time.
Yeah, right?
It's your turn.
I know.
I think I'm up 3-1 right now.
Yeah, or well,
3-0.
Yeah,
3-0.
I think so. Yeah, because I even ignored you in the drive-through.
What a prick! You had to bring that up. I forgot about that.
Well, hey, I'm being honest.
Uh-huh.
Is that Dave behind me? I don't think so.
Yeah, right behind you. Oh, hey, Dave, how you doing? By the way, screw you.
No food or drink for you. Are you paying this forward, sir? Hell no.
No, this is all being paid backward right now.
Exactly.
I don't know that guy.
Yeah, he just waving like a fool.
Yeah. There was one really good cop. He used to come on my ghost tours.
Right.
And he since had to move. He took a job down in Chilliwack.
Right.
Anyways, so I see him in the Tim Hortons drive-thru one day, and I bought him breakfast. And he's pulling by my work one day. He's like, "Dude, you don't have to buy me breakfast, man. Like, this order was like $4.
Sure,
whatever it was, coffee and a donut or whatever." So you don't tell me what to do, copper. I said, in fact, if I see you at the drive-thru tomorrow, I'm going to buy you tomorrow too.
Yeah.
He goes, don't. Please don't. I said, you don't have a choice. It's my bank card.
Yeah.
Right? So sure enough, the next morning, him and I are side by side at the drive-thru, and I pull the head again, and I got him again, right? Right? And so he just shaking his head at me, and I fingered him on the way out.
Oh, perfect.
I was like, yeah, take that. You won't want the free breakfast. Take that.
Exactly. I'm trying to be nice, man. I'm trying to find I wonder if I still have it.
I wonder if you still got it.
You got there, Tim? Well, it's an old picture. It's a picture in here somewhere.
A photograph.
A photograph. My buddy, I think it's got to be in here. My buddy was coming down, was it last year for Father's Day? His mom and his dad live in the same area that Dave and I do. And there's an area north of here. When you're heading south, he's coming through Williams Lake, and he goes through the 50, goes through the 150. And you go from 100K down to 70K, like in a heartbeat, right in that one spot.
I hate that spot.
Yeah. So he's going by, he's driving along, and he's going faster. He's speeding along. So he gets by Marshall's there, and all of a sudden, boop, the blue and reds light up behind him. And he's like, dang. So he pulls over. Cop comes up and goes, what's going on? And super good cop. And he goes, I'm going to my dad's down, whatever. He says, and he goes, I wasn't paying attention. Father's Day and blah, blah, blah. Cop goes, well, that's good. He says, just, slow it down and take her easy. So my buddy says to him, will you do me a favor? And the cop goes, sure. What do you need? My buddy's name's Kerry. Kerry reaches over across the seat of his truck, and he's bought his dad a 12-pack of Tim Hortons donuts. I kid you not. He says, could you hold this box of donuts This is an RCMP officer. Could you hold this box of donuts and let me take a picture, or let my wife take a picture of us? Right. So I do have it. I'm digging for it. The cop's standing at the window holding the box of donuts. My buddy Carrie's looking over at his wife in the passenger seat, and he's got his thumbs up. The cop was a total good sport. He goes, "Have a great afternoon."
Mm-hmm. Probably took a donut too.
I'm probably.
I'd have a donut tax on that.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta find that picture. It's so funny. But
I'm telling you right now, that's a good time right there.
100% legit, man.
Download. Okay, now I have to remember how to
download.
No, I can download, but I got to remember how to do these commercial things here.
All right, yeah.
So what I'm trying to do here, I started it yesterday. I'm trying to get rid of the... Oh, yeah, load it up twice, Dave. Good job, buddy.
Way to go.
Good job. Way to go, bud. Yeah. You're a hero. You are a hero.
You're my hero.
I know. Leave page. Where do I find this again?
I wonder if it's in there.
Why is that one?
What people?
I tried it there, and they're already giving... You don't have enough mid-roll breaks. 11 more suggested.
What?
Like, I'm trying to cut down. Fine. Never mind. There. If you're happy and you know it, clap
there
your
it is.
hands.
Found it.
Hold on. I gotta get rid of these.
If I can get it up on the screen.
Get rid of it.
I'm on a delay, sorry.
Delete.
There it is.
Delete.
There's my buddy.
Oh, yeah.
And the cop.
It's hard to believe you got a friend.
I know. I rent them.
All right. Where am I here? Let's do this. I don't like that David Grush story.
No.
Dave's tired too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least you being the boss tomorrow, you can put your feet up on the desk.
I almost fell asleep at my desk today.
I did at lunch.
Did you?
I locked the front door.
Did you?
Oh, yeah. I was like, screw it.
Nice.
Yeah. I was like, man, I'm
There you go.
exhausted.
Only men named Ken do that. And you don't look like a Ken.
No.
Way to go, Ken.
Yeah, no. I locked the front door, put the sign up, be back in an hour.
Oh, you did the be back in an
Oh,
hour.
yeah. No, it's my lunch break, man. It's my time. Turn the lights, put my feet up on the desk, kick my chair right back,
Nice.
and out. Set my alarm, and I was out. No problem at all. Pretty good. Wanted to go back to sleep, but it's pretty good.
I fell asleep on my recliner today. I got called from the bus because we have this one salesman, great guy, great kid, but he takes a lot of sick days.
Yes.
Okay, takes a lot of sick days, and it really sucks because there are times when, like today, I was not particularly feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I thought maybe I take the morning off.
Yeah.
Whatever. And we already have one other person off, so it would have been just him and I,
Mm-hmm.
and the big boss. And he calls in and says, "Yeah, I'm sick today, but just happens to be taking tomorrow off." Happens to be taking tomorrow off because he's got to go out of town for his something. Got to go to Kamloops tomorrow.
Mm.
So I said to the boss today, I said, that's a little coincidental. I've taken one sick day off in the last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's got 10 already this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I just never take a day off. I don't. You know, when people count on you, you can't take days off.
No. And we're not to make us sound old, but I'm gonna. I think what it is too is that we were raised a little differently too, right? I remember everybody in my family, my dad, my grandfather, and stuff, like, you don't show up to work right at the time you're supposed to show up to work. You get there early, you make your presence known, you have a look around, you see what's going, and you're prepared to work. And yeah, I still do, always get there before I'm supposed to start.
1 second here. That's right there. Okay. Not me, man. Not me. There's nothing. That's one thing I will not subscribe to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is these people who show up like 20, 30 minutes, an hour before their shift starts.
Mm-hmm.
That's way too old school for me.
Yeah. No, I won't go for an hour, but when I was wrenching and we had a 24/7 shop, I always rolled in early to see what was going on and what was left over and what needed to be done and what my day was going to look like. Always.
No, here's the way I look at it, is a lot of these companies, I think they have taken advantage of people coming in early.
Sure.
And it's not my job to come in early on my time before my shift to get prepped for work.
Mm-hmm.
That is company time.
Sure.
And so I have a real problem with these companies, like even ours.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, you guys should be here at least half hour, 45 minutes before your shift.
No way.
And I'm like, no. See, that's my time.
That's right.
Okay? That's my time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I get it. I totally get it. But yeah, it was the way I always did it. And it was, ever since I was a kid. So that was like back in the early 1900s.
Yeah, but back then, dude, you guys were using mules, okay?
Yes.
To carry the heavy loads.
Yeah.
I mean, how big was your Clydesdale team?
Huge. Hey, I liked your son's joke the other night. Hey, Tim, I got a question. Yeah, what's up? What was it like to have a pet dinosaur? It's like, holy, shut up. And everybody laughed and laughed and laughed.
Oh, my God.
That was pretty good, though. He delivered it perfectly. It was like, man, that was a good one.
My God.
See, Amanda wants a pet dinosaur.
We got a caveman here.
That's right.
That must have been a hard transition going from to the English language.
No, not really. I was ahead of the curve.
Oh my God, you were awesome. So what are you getting the wifey for her birthday?
I already got her the
getting her a new skillet set.
Yeah, buying her a new vacuum. Yeah, one of those traditional gifts that all ladies love. Yeah, no, I got her that handcrafted native drum, First Nations drum. So she's got that, and then I'm making her steak and corn on the cob supper and baked potatoes and all that good stuff. And then, I'll probably get her a cake and something like that. But it's going to take me a few hours tomorrow afternoon after today's lack of employees.
Well, your one guy probably not coming back.
No, that's true.
No,
we're not sure.
Screw you guys. I'm going home.
That's right. I don't want to play anymore. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll be taking a little personal time tomorrow afternoon.
I'll be good anywhere between 12 and 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Going for lunch. See ya when I see you.
If you know anybody with a good turkey sandwich, bring that over, too.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. Oh, dude, when she pulled that turkey sandwich out of the hopper, just like out of nowhere.
I know. So on Saturday, obviously my wife came up with us when we went up to Flight 21, and Dave got home from work, jumped in the shower, got all cleaned up and ready to go, came over and picked me and my wife up. Well, we'd already eaten, and Dave hadn't had anything yet, so he's like, we're going to stop at Save-On or the grocery store or the deli, and I'm going to get a sandwich. And my wife reached in her bag and pulled out one of Dave's favorite sandwiches from her restaurant. Dave's like, ding! There you go. You got the turkey cranberry aioli sandwich.
It's my favorite sandwich.
It's pretty nice. I really enjoy it.
Trying to, every time I go in there, though, I want one of them pulled pork wraps. Yeah, that's good stuff right there. Yeah, but it's always sold out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. See, I thought I had pull there.
You do.
Not really if the pulled pork wraps are always.
True. True.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Time to...
Sometimes I hate editing.
Yeah?
Yeah. Well, it's true. Hate it. Hate it. Booty Mongol. Dave just loves pulling his pork.
That's so rude.
So rude. It's so rude.
Yeah, that's rude.
Moody, why don't you come on up here? We're going to use you as Bigfoot bait.
Yes.
We're going to put a little peanut butter on the back end of you.
Yep. And we're just going to strap you to a tree.
Yep. Well, I was thinking more chains.
Oh, chains you can do.
Because he prefers chains, he told me.
Oh, yeah. True.
Yeah. Oh, Moody cracks me up. Absolute sicko sense of humor.
That's cool, though.
Oh, Firewater's a vegetarian.
You know what that stands for, right? That's the old First Nations terminology for poor hunter. Joe, don't say peanut butter. You're going to get Deb all hot. What?
Hey, Deb. Peanut butter. Now I want a turkey sandwich.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Oh, man.
We're going off the rails, kids.
Yeah, you got to try if you're ever in our area, you got to try these turkey sandwiches.
Oh man, I love them.
Yeah, they're freaking good.
Yeah. I like the roast beef ones too. Don't say jelly either. Uh-oh, what's going on?
I'm jam. I'm not jelly.
Yeah, me too.
Like if I was, the singer Jelly Roll, in my world he's Jam Roll.
Well, I got a good, I have to tell you, I have to be off the air. The jelly and jam thing.
All right. Thank you to Deborah Rooney times. Well, she had a hat trick tonight.
Nice, Deborah Rooney.
Congrats, Deb, on the hat trick. We appreciate that. Thank you for the love. Kira CS and Area 53 for the Super Chats. Tomorrow night on the show, Geraldine Orozco will be here for La Spirit. Hold on. Translate English to French.
Good Canadian guys here.
Le Vœu Spirituel. Le Vœu Spirituel tomorrow night.
Nice.
Yeah. With Geraldine Orozco. All right. I never know how to say goodnight. I never do.
Good.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Be safe. Make sure your water is always clean. And don't forget to bring a towel. Good night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.